Chapter 409. No one could remain calm. Everyone's minds were in turmoil. A small world appeared. It was so real that it shocked everyone. For hundreds of thousands of years, Saint Physiques could not enter the four extreme mystic realms. But now a phenomenon had appeared. Was this curse going to be broken? The entire world was in an uproar. Many cultivators were boiling with excitement. Everyone was paying close attention because it was very likely that they would witness the rise of someone comparable to an ancient emperor in the future. The saint children and saintesses revealed strange expressions. Everyone was watching in silence. No one said anything. The little Peng was bathed in golden light. He was tall and straight like a demon god. He sneered again and again as his fighting spirit soared. The black great desolate halberd appeared behind him. Xianxia had red lips, white teeth and bright eyes. She was incomparably beautiful. Although she was only 13 or 14 years old, her cultivation could look down on the younger generation. She held her hands behind her back and remained unmoved. At this moment, the saint lords were also moved. They could not calm down and all had different expressions on their faces. The appearance of a peerless divine king from the Jianghu family was already enough to make all the Holy Lands dread it. If they produced a large success Saint Physique in the future, they could challenge an ancient emperor. How could the other Holy Lands endure that? Moreover, once Yifan succeeded in breaking through, the Feng clan and the Jianghu family would inevitably form a marriage alliance. At that time, the balance between the Holy Lands would truly be broken. The central continent's 4 great immortal dynasties and the 100 religions had all sent great figures to observe the ceremony. At this moment they were all shaken. This was absolutely an unparalleled enemy of their descendants. Yifan had no self and was aloof from the world. No matter how noisy the outside world was, he remained unmoved. Each leaf of the Tao Comprehension tea tree was different. They all had unimaginable uses that allowed Yifan to enter a mysterious realm. The small world was vivid and real. He sat high in the sky with the yin-yang primal chaos diagram spinning. He was like a god that split the world apart, overlooking the rivers and mountains below as if he was accepting the worship of all living beings. Swish! For leaves shot up. Some were like white jade while others seemed to be cast in gold. They were sparkling and dazzling as they floated in the air. Buzz! In the night sky, the power of the stars was drawn over like moonlight and water, gathering towards the dragon transformation pool, entering Yifan's little world, making it even more lively. Boom! The dragon transformation pool surged. All of the divine origin was being refined, rushing towards Yifan who was engraved in the void, entering his body. His entire body was sparkling, and even the fine hairs on the surface of his body were shining. The cleansing of his flesh was a visible transformation. His body became more and more flawless, as translucent as crystal. His powerful life fluctuations became even more terrifying. Yes, every single beat of Yifan's heart was like the beating of a divine drum, and it shook the eardrums of others to the point of droning. It could be said to be astounding. Moreover, his heartbeat grew louder and louder. Thump, thump, thump. It reverberated throughout heaven and earth. He's changing his blood, regenerating his flesh and blood. Everyone was shocked. Yifan was shedding his mortal body and exchanging his bones. His flesh shell was about to transform. This was an omen of breaking through. Boom! The dragon transformation pool swayed as Yifan guided the endless essence energy into his body. His body became even more resplendent, as if an immortal lord had descended into this world. During this process, divine light soared into the sky. The vast amount of Genesis chi couldn't be sealed and absorbed at all. It illuminated the entire world. Swish! A mischievous little golden creature turned into a golden lion and appeared in the sky like a thief. It absorbed the Genesis chi in an almost intoxicated manner. The divine silkworm appeared. It spent a lot of effort to break free from the little nun in white. It slid over and sucked in the Genesis chi like a whale. The white-robed God King was also high up in the sky. He was currently using the leaf fire divine cauldron to disintegrate the great emperor's formation. He indifferently glanced at the divine silkworm. The little golden creature was immediately frightened. Then, it blinked its large eyes and put on a pitiful appearance as if it was begging to stay here. The Supreme God King no longer paid it any attention. He activated the leaf fire divine cauldron and continued to resist the great emperor's killing formation. He gradually erased the Genesis chi in the air. The little golden creature seemed to have been pardoned. It entered the Genesis chi and continuously absorbed it into its body. Its entire body shone with golden light. It was incomparably intoxicated. Countless little stars appeared in its large eyes. Divine silkworm. Many people cried out in surprise. They suddenly remembered that it also needed a vast amount of Genesis Chi to transform. It was very likely to be another great winner today. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Suddenly, a large crack appeared in the sky. A large purple hand reached out from within. It was extremely sudden and directly grabbed towards the dragon transformation pool. Purple energy curled about. It covered the sky like a demonic cloud, hiding the stars and moon and severing the spiritual energy of the world. It was extremely terrifying and horrifying. Heavens, the hand that pierced through the void is a peak expert. Everyone was shocked. There was finally a powerful figure who took action and launched an attack to kill Yi Fan. Bang! The 4 elders from the Wind Clan took action. One of them went against the sky and struck towards the sky, colliding with the large purple hand. Pooh! He spat out a mouthful of blood and immediately fell down. He was heavily injured. The expressions of everyone present all changed. Dong! The Peacock King took action. He rushed up to the great crack in the void and spat out the primal chaos precious imprint, striking down. A loud sound rang out. The large purple hand was forced back. It disappeared in the blink of an eye, vanishing without a trace. Roar! Suddenly, several more large cracks appeared. No one slaughtered their way out, but a terrifying roar sounded. It was as if rubble collapsed the clouds, as if great waves struck the heavens. The sound was extremely deafening, as if it could shatter rivers and mountains. In the distance, quite a few people fell on their backs, blood flowing from their 7 apertures, their lives in danger. One could imagine just how terrifying this type of roar was. The Crimson Dragon Taoist's hands formed an imprint, isolating the dragon transformation pool within a small world to prevent the sound waves from entering. The surrounding cultivators quickly retreated to watch the divine body attack. They didn't want to be caught up in the disaster. The Peacock Tile, Green Flood Dragon King and Wind Clan's elders all released attacks towards the great cracks in space, stopping the sound waves and calming down heaven and earth. Disturbing the divine body's breakthrough is even more vicious than killing him. Many people sucked in a cold breath of air, immediately understanding the intentions of those hidden in the dark. Cultivators hated being disturbed the most when breaking through. Wasting all of their previous efforts was a small matter, but they would most likely become half-crippled, unable to cultivate from then on. The hidden person already had a plan. He wanted to stop Yi Fan while he was breaking through at the lowest price possible, completely crippling him and preventing him from cultivating for the rest of his life. At the crucial moment, a single roar might be enough to consign Yi Fan to eternal damnation. He would fall from the clouds into hell, unable to rise again for the rest of his life. Swoosh! The Supreme Divine King finally wiped away the Great Emperor's formation runes, but he didn't dare to be careless. The hidden person most likely had a backup plan, and he was even on guard against the Extreme Saint weapon. The leaves of the Comprehension Tea Tree turned to dust one after another. 4 divine radiances entered Yi Fan's body, interweaving into many innate patterns, making him even more divine. Meanwhile, this small world became clearer and clearer, like a real space and not just a phenomenon. At this moment, Yi Fan was unmoving. His body was like a 7-colored glaze, clear and flawless. Many spiritual essences and endless divine rays were baptizing his body, making him seem like a god. What's the phenomenon of the saint body? Is it a pure land like the Divine King? No, it's more like a combination of several phenomena. They haven't taken shape yet. Stars shine in the blue sky, lovely land and mountains, chaotic green lotus, yin-yang diagram of life and death, immortal king descending to the 9 heavens. There are shadows of these terrifying ancient phenomena. What kind of terrifying phenomenon will it form? Everyone was discussing softly and paying close attention. Suddenly Yi Fan's heartbeat accelerated. Endless Genesis Chi from the dragon transformation pool entered his body, and he shone brightly. Whoosh! He actually started to burn. Divine flames soared into the sky, and his body was almost transparent. His internal organs and bones could almost be seen. All the pores on his body were bleeding, and his whole body was bright red. The raging fire burned and evaporated the fresh liquid, and the smell of blood assailed everyone's nostrils. What happened? Why is he burning? Is he going to turn into ashes? No, this is a true rebirth. Body regeneration, initial success of the saint body, he is really going to enter the 4 extreme secret realm. People were very surprised. The blood in Yi Fan's body continued to flow out through his pores, and new blood with brilliance appeared in his body, which was shining with a faint golden light. Crack! Suddenly, everyone heard the sound of bones breaking again. They could vaguely see the bones in his seven-colored glass-like body shattering and then growing again. They had never seen such a terrifying rebirth. It could be said that the transformation was very thorough, and even his bones were being reborn. Yi Fan's sparkling body was also broken, like a beautiful jade cracking. Then his internal organs shook and his joints crackled. Everything was being reborn. The dragon transformation pool was dyed red, and the divine flames wrapped around him. He seemed to be reborn from the fire. Every bone, every inch of flesh and blood including his hair was being replaced. This is too cruel. What kind of pain is the transformation of the saint body going through? This isn't a tribulation but a rebirth. I think many people are willing to have it. Yi Fan used the divine origin essence to cleanse his body, changing his bones and blood continuously. His body was reborn and he became extremely powerful. He shed his original flesh shell and regenerated himself. Suddenly the people in the dark took action. The void collapsed continuously like a vast ocean, rising and falling violently. It was unknown how many top-level characters were taking action, but this part of the world was torn apart. The sound was like thunder, shaking all directions, and all life between heaven and earth was extinguished. The divine king took action. His gaze was like lightning sweeping across the entire world. All the cracked areas immediately closed, and the void returned to how it was before. It immediately became peaceful. Boom. Suddenly Yi Fan's body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell backwards, his entire body drenched in blood. The endless divine origin energy in the dragon transformation pool erupted like a tsunami, sending him flying. Heavens, what happened? Did the breakthrough of the saint body fail? Everyone was shocked, not knowing what was going on. The divine king, the crimson dragon Taoist, and the peacock king were also shocked. Bang! Yi Fan flipped over and sat up, closing his eyes again. He drew the vast amount of Genesis Qi, and the sound of the great Tao in his body continued. Not good. There isn't much divine origin left in the dragon transformation pool, the elder of the Feng clan exclaimed. However, at this time Yi Fan's body completed its transformation. This was a true rebirth. Boom. He stood up all of a sudden and the sky trembled. He raised his head to look at the starry sky, his messy hair flying. His new body flickered and a powerful aura erupted. Boom. However, at this time purple lightning descended from the sky, striking towards him. Heavens, what is this? Why is there lightning in the starry sky? This is a heavenly tribulation. Everyone exclaimed. How can a heavenly tribulation descend after entering the four extreme secret realms? Everyone was stupefied. Lightning descended from the 9 heavens, striking towards Yi Fan. He stood there proudly, facing the purple lightning. Boom. The first bolt of lightning descended. His entire body flickered and he forcibly withstood it, unharmed. Boom. The second heavenly tribulation was no longer a single bolt of lightning. It turned into a purple sea, a lightning pool. Endless lightning drowned Yi Fan, and the world was filled with purple light. This was a sea of lightning, extremely terrifying. Since ancient times, apart from a few heaven-defying monsters, I have never heard of anyone being stopped by a heavenly tribulation when they were breaking through. The breakthrough of the saint body actually encountered a heavenly tribulation, and it seems to be the extremely terrifying kind. The Black Emperor shouted in the dark, "Kid, if you can endure it, there will be many benefits." Back then, Great Emperor Wuxia was often struck by lightning. As long as you don't die, you won't have to be afraid of becoming the enemy of the world in the future. Chapter 410. This was a sea of lightning. Electrical radiance surged downwards. The thunder was like a tide, shattering everything. It was incomparably blazing, filling the world with a purple expanse. The thunder seemed to be about to blast through everyone's eardrums and shatter their souls. It connected heaven and earth, incomparably vast. It was as if the Milky Way from the 9 heavens poured down, as if there were millions of great stars smashing down. The void was blasted apart, becoming incredibly tattered. However, it would be submerged soon because the lightning radiance was just too resplendent. Dazzling lightning filled every inch of space. The great thunder shocked the world. The purple lightning surged like a tide, surging violently. This was a world of lightning that could destroy all things. Everyone was alarmed, their blood running cold. When Yi Fan was breaking through, the heavenly tribulation descended, stopping his advance. It shocked everyone. Even from the distance, it was already so terrifying. Everyone found it hard to imagine just what kind of tribulation Yi Fan was experiencing in the Purple Sea. They all opened their divine eyes to watch. The purple sea of lightning submerged the dragon transformation pool, representing the will of heaven and earth. It could obliterate all creatures in this world, making one's soul tremble uncontrollably. Yi Fan's body was in the purple sea. His flesh was lacerated and his body was scorched black. Faint golden blood flowed out. He had suffered unimaginable injuries. Even though he was heavily injured, his blood and chi surged. He didn't decline in the slightest, instead raising his head towards the sky and doing everything he could to resist. Everyone was horrified. The flesh of a saint physique was too terrifying. If it was a normal person, a single streak of lightning would have turned them into ashes, yet he was resisting in the purple sea. Another wave of lightning descended. It was incomparably fierce, burying Yi Fan underneath. It was unknown just how much lightning struck down on his body. Faint golden blood splashed in all directions, and his bones released gabbing sounds. This is too terrifying. Any creature will be blasted apart. Since ancient times, not many people have suffered a heavenly tribulation while breaking through. The saint physique is comparable to a heaven-defying monster. Meanwhile, what shocked everyone the most was that Yi Fan wasn't blasted apart. He endured it all and was still standing in the sea of lightning, unyielding and tenacious. Heavenly tribulation was rarely seen since ancient times, but everyone knew about it. They had all heard rumors that outsiders couldn't help at all, or else it would attract an even greater lightning tribulation. Beside the dragon transformation pool there were many experts. Taoist Scarlet Dragon, Peacock King, Green Serpent King, Elders of the Wind Clan, and even peerless Divine Kings. However, none of them dared to lend a hand. If they did that, not only would they not be able to save Yi Fan, but they would also have to suffer a great heavenly tribulation that would not rest until they were dead. Lightning flashed. Even someone as strong as Yi Fan's physical body was in tatters. It was almost pierced through. Many of the wounds revealed his bones, and a lot of pale golden blood flowed out. It's the 9 words heavenly tribulation. Everyone was aghast. Yi Fan's first wave of heavenly tribulation was a bolt of lightning formed from 9 bolts of lightning, and he had forcefully withstood it with his body. The second heavenly tribulation was this purple sea. There were a total of 9 lightning tides, and he had just experienced 3 or 4 of them. Almost no one believed that he could make it through. The Black Emperor shouted in the dark, "Brat, you have to hold on." The baptism of the lightning tribulation is rare since ancient times. There are many benefits to cultivating in the future. Yi Fan didn't say anything. He didn't have the energy at all, and he couldn't afford to be distracted. The slightest bit of carelessness would turn him into ashes. At this moment his entire body was in pain. The lightning had pierced through many parts of his body. If it was any other cultivator, they would have been annihilated long ago, and not even ashes would be left. Boom. Another lightning tide arrived and the heaven and earth trembled. Endless purple radiance wrapped around him, piercing through the sky and earth like countless world-shocking dragons soaring into the sky. The myriad chi cauldron floated up and down above Yi Fan's head, experiencing the lightning tribulation together with him. He was struck by the purple sea, leaving behind countless streaks of innate patterns. Everyone held their breaths and watched in silence. The 5th, the 6th, everyone was astonished to find that Yi Fan was infinitely close to the 9th lightning tide. He was actually about to charge through it. Everyone was extremely shocked. The 9th lightning tide arrived as scheduled. Lightning flashed in tens of thousands of streaks, and the purple color became the only thing between heaven and earth. Yi Fan was like a duckweed in a tsunami as he was drowned in an instant. Boom. Endless lightning and blazing divine radiance made the heaven and earth as bright as day. It was dazzling like a boundless fire was burning and collapsing the void. Buzz. In the end, the void trembled and the endless purple sea disappeared. The heaven and earth instantly calmed down as if it had never happened. Then, a trembling sound was heard. The cauldron made of myriad chi fell to the ground and broke the silence. Everyone was bewildered and didn't know if Yi Fan was dead or alive. Beside the dragon transformation pond, a figure was completely black and no different from charcoal. He stood there motionlessly. He passed the heavenly tribulation? No, there is no vitality at all. His body has dried up. This is the death of the saint physique. Many cultivators were discussing and it was noisy. Everyone felt that the scorched body had lost its vitality. Bang. Yi Fan fell straight down. His scorched body was like charcoal that had experienced the fire tribulation and was almost rotten. He's dead. He actually failed. The curse of the saint physique cannot be broken after all. After hundreds of thousands of years, there hasn't been a single exception. He was so close to success, Yet he died just like that. The heaven and earth were in an uproar. There were those who sympathized and there were those who took joy in his misfortune. Everyone's reactions were different, and many great powers sighed in relief. Suddenly, a light sound rang out from the dragon transformation pond. The charcoal-like body moved a bit. Yi Fan slowly stood up. Even though his body was scorched black, his eyes were incomparably clear and filled with divine light. Following that, the sound of something breaking rang out. The surface of his body cracked, and a layer of scorched old skin fell off. Sparkling and translucent, new flesh appeared. He didn't die. He was baptized by thunder and lightning and obtained new life in the purple sea. His body must have become even more powerful. Everyone was shocked. They never thought that Yi Fan would be able to make it through. The scorched old skin rustled and fell off. Yi Fan's new body, which had been bathed in thunder and lightning, flickered with a precious splendor. He was filled with great power. His eyes were clear and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He was wearing a white robe and he looked like a revived immortal. Everyone was stunned. The saint physique was unharmed. Did this mean that he had succeeded in breaking through? While everyone was dumbstruck, only the little golden creature was still active. The heavenly tribulation had scared it away. Now that it had calmed down, it quickly ran back and sucked in all the Genesis chi in the sky. Yi Fan felt the changes in his body. His physical body had definitely succeeded in breaking through, but he couldn't display any phenomenon. He felt that something was missing. Why is it like this? Is the curse not broken? He softly muttered to himself and clenched his fists. His life essence was like the sea and he possessed endless divine power, but why didn't he feel a natural sense of harmony? After entering the 4 extreme secret realms, he would comprehend the order of heaven and earth. His body would be imprinted in the void, and there would be all kinds of miraculous changes, but he couldn't feel it. That's right, my divine sense. Yi Fan understood. He hadn't drawn out the great Tao, so he didn't experience anything. Just now, everything was experienced by his physical body. His divine sense hadn't received the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, so it couldn't become one. Suddenly, everyone's hearts palpitated, and they felt like they were suffocating. They almost couldn't breathe. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock and they couldn't help but look up at the sky. Thunder rumbled, and it was as if a magnificent army was charging down. The little golden creature immediately slipped away like a wisp of smoke. Brat, be careful. The Black Emperor secretly shouted, "You've had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. You've encountered an extremely terrifying heavenly tribulation. There will definitely be 5 stages, and each stage will have 9 minor tribulations." Also, Yi Fan's eyes were filled with vigor as he looked up at the starry sky. He had already experienced 2 stages, a total of 18 minor tribulations. He hadn't finished the tribulation yet. Boom. Lightning descended. This time it wasn't a sea of lightning but 9 afterimages. They interweaved with electricity as if they were 9 deities. What is that? How could there be creatures in the lightning? Everyone was stupefied. 9 figures formed from lightning. Some were shaped like human bodies, some like true dragons, and there were even some that looked like birds, beasts, fish, and bugs. They were all different. Could it be that the great heaven and earth truly have a will? Undying deities were born. Many cultivators were overwhelmed with shock. They aren't deities, but rather formed from the interweaving power of lightning. It is a type of terrifying heavenly tribulation. A holy lord spoke with a calm voice. All types of ancient texts had different explanations. The ancient sages believed that lightning tribulation was born from the connection between heaven and man, and that it was closely related to the one undergoing the tribulation. While everyone was discussing, Yi Fan had long sunk into an even greater tribulation. He tangled together with one of the afterimages, and it was as if he was fighting a great battle. This time, not only was his physical body undergoing the tribulation, his divine sense also rushed out to receive the baptism of lightning radiance. He endured an intense pain that was close to shattering. The first human figure was finally destroyed, but a second loud sound rang out. This time, it was a divine phoenix that brought scarlet lightning with it as it swooped down. Lightning that had turned into a living being possessed unimaginable power, far more terrifying than the sea of lightning. Yi Fan was covered by the divine phoenix. His powerful divine sense was tempered, turning into a blazing beam of light that was almost burning. He was in incomparable pain but he endured it. A third, a fourth. Figures that were like deities rushed over one after another. There would be 9 tribulations. Yi Fan's physical body and divine sense would experience the tribulation at the same time. If he persisted and didn't die, then he would experience a baptism similar to rebirth. If he couldn't resist it, then he would forever be destroyed. At the same time, his cauldron was also receiving the impact of all of this. More and more innate patterns were left on its surface. Pong! A final loud sound rang out. The ninth immortal-like figure rushed down, sending Yi Fan flying. Then it quickly caught up, and endless lightning submerged him. He was swallowed into the immortal king's mouth. Everyone cried out in alarm, watching nervously. Pooh! The immortal king was cut open, the lightning completely disappeared, and the world became peaceful again. Yi Fan's divine sense was like a golden sun, incomparably brilliant. After experiencing the baptism of the lightning tribulation, his divine sense was clearly different. There was an aura that was close to that of a deity. Yi Fan understood. This was indeed the case. His divine sense captured the trajectory of the Tao within the lightning. With the Bodhi seed in hand, he comprehended many things. He felt that he was about to completely break through to the four extreme secret realms. Brat, be careful. The unreasonable primal chaos lightning has arrived. The Black Emperor cried out in alarm. 9 great lightning bolts descended from the sky, and within each bolt was a strand of primal chaos energy. It made people feel the aura of the creation of heaven and earth. It really is primal chaos lightning. Even though it's only a strand, it's still incomparably terrifying. The expressions of all the holy lords changed, and then their expressions became a bit strange. The central continent's undying imperial court and the 100 sects experts were also moved. Before the great ancient emperors refined their holy weapons, they would always baptize the holy object with endless primal chaos lightning. Many of the older generation figures were envious. Using the 9 strands of primal chaos lightning energy to refine a weapon would definitely have endless wondrous uses. It could increase the quality of the divine weapon. However, Yi Fan wanted to use it to refine his body. Just the thought of it was enough to shock everyone. What kind of tribulation would this be? Boom! The first bolt of lightning struck down, almost smashing Yi Fan's body into pieces. The strand of primal chaos lightning energy within was too terrifying. He was dripping with blood and his bones were crackling. His divine sense was shattered, and the cauldron was riddled with marks. His entire body was covered in injuries and he was on the verge of collapse. He almost couldn't hold on any longer. However, Yi Fan's willpower was like iron. His divine sense quickly gathered and turned into an ancient pagoda. It absorbed the strand of primal chaos energy and quickly refined it. Tao imprint. Innate great Tao patterns were produced within the primal chaos lightning energy, making his body and mind clear. Then, his injuries quickly recovered as if he was being reborn from the ashes. Boom! The second bolt of lightning descended and almost blasted him into pieces. However, he still managed to hold on in the end. Boom! The third bolt of primal chaos lightning descended. Yi Fan roared towards the sky. His body, divine sense, and cauldron all trembled as they faced the sky. When the 7th bolt of lightning descended, Yi Fan's body was almost scattered. It was too horrible to look at. It was more terrifying than all the lightning tribulations he had experienced in the past. His white bones were thick and his faint golden blood was almost dried up. However, he still gathered his divine sense with great difficulty. It turned into a bell and fixed the strand of primal chaos energy in place, allowing it to circulate between his divine sense, body, and cauldron. Boom! The 8th bolt of lightning descended. Yi Fan's injuries became even more severe. He was almost turned into minced meat and most of his bones were shattered. However, he still persisted. The shattered divine sense gathered together and turned into a cauldron. It sealed the strand of primal chaos energy and comprehended the great Tao imprint. It used it to repair his body and divine sense, and at the same time, cleansed the myriad energy cauldron. Boom! Finally, the last bolt of primal chaos lightning descended, piercing through Yi Fan's body in dozens of places. He almost broke into several pieces. However, he clenched his teeth and forced himself to stay awake. He didn't faint. The divine sense reassembled and turned into a celestial king-like figure. It shone brilliantly, and upon closer inspection, it was himself. The divine sense turned into a celestial king-like figure. It sat cross-legged in the void and hugged the strand of primal chaos energy. It received nourishment, and it continuously recovered and strengthened. Crack, crack, crack. Yi Fan's bones cracked and his body began to recover. The divine sense was like a golden sun. Its radiance rushed into the sky, and it hung in front of his forehead. Meanwhile, the myriad energy cauldron hung above his head. It bobbed up and down, sending down strands of mysterious yellow energy. It looked misty and it was full of the great Tao. Swoosh. The 9 strands of primal chaos energy circled around Yi Fan's body like 9 little dragons that continuously danced. Then, they entered his sea of consciousness and finally entered the cauldron. At this moment, the aura of the primordial era filled the air. It was as if the world was being created, and it gave him an indescribable feeling. His body and mind were peaceful, and there was peace and emptiness. The 9 strands of primal chaos energy all contained the path of the great Tao. Yi Fan continued to comprehend them, and then he began to refine the 9 energies. His divine sense turned into a sitting celestial king, floating in front of his forehead. The cauldron hung above his head, and his body sat in the void. Buzz. The void trembled. Yi Fan imprinted himself in the world, and he became one with the void. The 9 strands of primal chaos energy all melted, and they became one with him and the cauldron. Swoosh. Yi Fan opened his eyes. He knew that he had entered the 4 extreme secret realm, and he had successfully broken through. His white robe fluttered, his black hair danced, and his eyes were clear. He quietly stood in this world, and there was a completely different feeling. Where's the 5th tribulation? Yi Fan looked up at the night sky, and he still didn't see it descend. Chapter 4:11. The moonlight was like water, pouring down in torrents like smoke or fog. The inside of the divine city was hazy. Beside the dragon transformation pool, Yi Fan's eyes were clear as he gazed at the starry sky. He was extremely quiet, not moving at all. Only his hair and white clothes fluttered about. He didn't say anything. There was still the last level of heavenly tribulation that hadn't descended. It was likely to be a violent storm, a perilous situation. He was on full alert. Not a single one of the other cultivators could maintain their calm. All of them were inwardly shocked, and clamoring surged into the heavens. Could it be that he succeeded in breaking through? I sensed that he seemed to have entered the 4 extreme secret realm. Is this true? The sacred body of the ancients has been difficult to cultivate for more than 100,000 years. Is the curse going to be broken today? It's really shocking. His saint physique has successfully broken through. It can be considered a small success. In the future, he might even be able to challenge the great emperors. Everyone was discussing. Yi Fan had withstood 4 heavenly tribulations in a row and actually survived safely. Using lightning to temper his body, what kind of fortuitous encounter was this? Since ancient times, cultivators who encountered heavenly tribulations were very rare. He had experienced the lightning tribulation to cleanse his divine sense and body. In the future, when he cultivated, there would be endless benefits, causing many cultivators to be extremely envious and jealous. The divine physique has really broken through. This is a miracle of the antiquity era. How is this possible? Didn't the ancient sages say that this world has changed? Divine bodies can't cultivate. This is really shocking. What does it mean to have a holy body that broke the curse? In the future, he will be able to compete with the great ancient emperors. At this moment, there wasn't a single person that could remain unperturbed because many people had already discerned that Yi Fan had really broken through and succeeded in advancing into the 4 extreme secret realms. The golden-winged little Peng King's body was tall and straight. His golden hair was fluttering in the wind, and his eyes were filled with wildness. The battle armor on his body was flickering with a cold luster, and his cloak was fluttering in the wind. He felt a kind of pressure. Staring at Yi Fan, his expression changed for the first time. 2 sharp beams of light shot out from his eyes. Killing intent filled the air, and his battle intent rose even higher. The Jade Lake Holy Maiden's immortal body was tall and slender. Mist curled around her body, and her beautiful eyes flickered with extraordinary splendor. She looked pensive as she looked at Yi Fan, and then at the night sky. On the other side, the wavering light Saint Child's expression was calm. The 108 divine rings around his body made him look like a god. His expression didn't change, but his heart was in turmoil. He could be called a rare genius since ancient times, and could even be said to be a heaven-warping talent. When he was breaking through to the 4 extremes, he had also triggered a lightning tribulation, but it was definitely not this terrifying. Many of the older generation felt that he was on par with the young emperor. But now, there was a saint body that made him feel extremely pressured. The Purple Mansion Holy Daughter had a Khanate Tao embryo, and she was close to the great Tao. She had the charm of being one with the heavens. She was like a celestial fairy who had been born into the world. But now, a strange look appeared on her face. She was like a bright pearl blooming, like a divine lotus blooming. Great waves surged in her heart as she stared unblinkingly at the distant Yi Fan. What she saw just now made it hard for her to calm down. The younger generation, the many descendants of the Holy Lands, and the outstanding disciples of the major forces all felt the pressure at this moment. If the saint body successfully entered the four extreme secret realms, he would definitely be the most terrifying opponent. No one could remain calm. If there was anyone who could laugh at this moment, it would be in Miaoi. She could be said to be able to topple cities with one smile, and if she laughed again she could topple countries. Her absolute beauty was enough to bring chaos to the world and captivate all living things. Her flawless jade body was exquisite, and her curves were perfect. Her dress fluttered in the wind, and her skin flickered with a sparkling luster. Her smile was incomparably moving. Her eyes were like water, and her skin was snow-white and smooth. Even the bright moon in the sky lost its luster, causing the hearts of many cultivators to sway, almost unable to control themselves. The great figures of the eastern barren lands were all silent. The fact that the Jiang clan and the Feng clan had cultivated a saint body that had broken the curse was definitely not good news for them. Many great figures from the Central Plains who had come to watch the ceremony also frowned at this moment. A grand completion saint body could live for tens of thousands of years. If the youth in front of them grew up, he would definitely rule the world for 10,000 years. Who knew how many generations of their descendants would be intimidated by him? Unless a monarch-level figure appeared, who else could suppress a grand completion saint body? Perhaps not allowing him to grow and killing him in the early stages was the best choice once and for all. Yi Fan stood silently beside the dragon transformation pond. He did not see the appearance of the fifth heavenly tribulation this entire time. The night sky was especially gentle, and there was not the slightest sign of danger. Perhaps I guessed wrongly. The lightning that struck you just now was too terrifying, and even chaotic lightning appeared. Perhaps even the heavens are embarrassed, and will no longer send down heavenly tribulation. The large black dog was not very sure. Ha ha ha. The four elders of the Feng clan laughed loudly, feeling incredibly carefree. From now on, a saint body that had broken the curse would be tied to the ancient war chariot of the Feng clan, and it would be enough for them to flourish for 10,000 years. Good, we have finally broken the legend today. The Peacock King also nodded. Many people in the distance echoed in agreement, and many voices of congratulations traveled over here. The white-robed Divine King also revealed a gratified expression, but he did not relax. He held the leaf fire divine furnace in his hand, and swept his gaze over the surroundings, afraid that someone would take the risk and attack. However, the Divine King had worried too much. The people in the dark fell silent and did not attack again. Just now they had only chosen to attack because they saw that Yi Fan had a chance of breaking through. Now everything was already set in stone. With the protection of the Supreme Divine King, attacking now would probably result in heavy losses, so it was far better to find another time to kill the saint body. Under the night sky there was a commotion. Many people were clamoring. The saint body that had fallen for hundreds of thousands of years had been revived, and an invincible physique had reappeared in the world. Perhaps in the near future, it would shine brilliantly. At this moment only a small golden creature was unmoved, and it was busy with its own matters. It absorbed all the spiritual essence in the sky, and then sneaked back into the dragon transformation pond stealthily. The old Taoist Crimson Dragon, the Peacock King, and the others all saw it, but they did not stop it because the divine source was almost exhausted, and there was not much left, so they did not chase this little guy away. Tonight it was definitely a big winner. Half of the massive amount of essence chi of the divine source disappeared into the night sky. A part of it was absorbed by Yi Fan, and the other half was taken by the holy silkworm. This time, facing Yi Fan, it was trying to please him. It didn't bare its fangs and claws anymore. It blinked its big eyes, which were filled with little stars. Then it dived into the pond. I made it. I'm in the four extreme secret domains. Yi Fan stood up, looking at the endless night sky. Lightning punishment, do you still want to strike me? Boom. Suddenly 9 bolts of lightning struck down. Everyone was dumbfounded, flabbergasted. As soon as Yi Fan finished talking, lightning struck down. Was there really a ruler in the dark who would not allow people to provoke him? Little Yi, why are you provoking the heaven? I'm going to be struck by lightning again. Yi, you want to be struck by lightning on purpose. Tu Fei, Li Heishui, and Pang Bo screamed. They all felt that something was wrong. This time Yi Fan raised his fist and punched towards the sky. After entering the arcane realm, he was fearless. His golden fist shattered the 9 bolts of lightning on the spot. Boom. The second time 18 lightning strikes struck down. 9 of them aimed at Yi Fan while the other 9 struck the dragon transformation pond. Boom. Yi Fan reached out a large golden hand, grabbing all 9 streaks of lightning in his hand and erasing them in an instant. His methods were truly shocking. On the other side, the holy silkworm in the dragon transformation pond cried out in fear. It covered its head and tried to run away. However, the 9 lightning strikes had locked on it, chasing after it. It's not right. It's the holy silkworm's heaven's punishment. Oh my God, the holy silkworm is going through the heaven's punishment. It's the one that attracted the lightning strikes. Everyone was shocked, stupefied. It was clear that Yi Fan was caught in the crossfire, caught up in this. Damn it. That bastard holy silkworm wants to kill little Yi. It just got struck by lightning because it wants to experience it again. Tu Fei cursed. I'm so dizzy. This holy silkworm is a disaster. Why is it going through the heaven's punishment too? It's going to drag Yi into this? Pang Bo was worried. That unlucky holy silkworm. It's okay if it gets struck by lightning, but it also wants to drag others down with it. Li Heishui cursed. Everybody was astounded. The heaven's punishment was rare since the ancient times. Now it had appeared twice in one day. However, after thinking about it, they understood it. What kind of creature was the holy silkworm? In the immemorial epoch, as long as it could go through 9 changes, it would be an invincible existence in this world. If it wanted to break through, it would have to face the heaven's punishment because it was too heaven-defying. Just now, it had swallowed a lot of essence chi of the God Source. It was about to transform. The holy silkworm ran away like a wisp of smoke, thinking that it had nothing to do with it. However, it couldn't get rid of the lightning. It swayed left and right, holding its head and running away. Everybody was speechless and didn't know what to say. This holy silkworm was too strange. It didn't even know that its heaven's punishment had come. In the distance, the little nun in white opened her mouth into an O shape and shouted, "Xiao Guai, don't run away. Resist it quickly. Only you can cross it yourself." The holy silkworm held its head and ran away, diving into Yi Fan's chest. It had just seen Yi Fan resist it, so it wanted to seek his protection. This unlucky holy silkworm is going to drag little Yi into this. I should skin it alive. Little thing, do you want to kill me? Yi Fan really wanted to grab it and beat it up. The holy silkworm's large eyes were filled with grievance. Even now, it still didn't know how the heaven's punishment came. It hugged its head and ran away, begging for help with tears in its eyes. Yi Fan directly transmitted a divine will to it, telling this pure little thing what was going on. Then he almost wanted to vomit blood as he began to resist the new round of heaven's punishment. He had the urge to curse. What was going on? Brat, back off. This emperor carved a type of formation pattern that can help you get out of this predicament. At the crucial moment, the Black Emperor transmitted sound. I've already been implicated. There's still a way to get out of this predicament? Yi Fan was bewildered. In the past, Great Emperor Wuxia often suffered lightning tribulations and implicated many people. Later on, he created a type of formation pattern that could allow those who were implicated to avoid the tribulation. Yi Fan didn't say anything more. He followed the Black Emperor's guidance and hid into a formation pattern not far away. All of the lightning actually disappeared. He was stunned. As expected, Great Emperor Wuxia was extraordinarily talented. He could even deceive the heavens, and he had a way to help others deceive the heavens. Brat, you have to be careful. I've remembered some things. Your heaven's punishment might not be over yet, the large black dog warned seriously in secret. What? Yi Fan was shocked. On the other side, the holy silkworm ran around wildly, crying out in the archaic language. Everyone was scared into fleeing, fearing that they would be implicated by it. The golden little creature felt incredibly wronged. In the end, it resisted the heaven's punishment alone. It was struck until tears welled up in its eyes and it wailed loudly. However, what was shocking was that although it was riddled with wounds and swayed left and right, there were no fatal injuries. Suddenly the void trembled. It was as if this part of the universe was about to collapse, causing the hairs of many cultivators to stand on end. Fear welled up in their hearts. A sense of alarm rose in Yi Fan's heart. He looked up into the night sky, feeling boundless danger. It was as if doomsday had arrived, making him feel completely disheartened. This was definitely coming for him. Under the night moon, streak after streak of natural patterns appeared, interweaving together in the sky, forming a Tao diagram that slowly pressed downwards. The void trembled as if it was about to collapse. This diagram was profound and unfathomable, as if it was the form of the great Tao. It made one feel suffocated, difficult to breathe, and even their souls were trembling. What is this? Everyone was shaken, not understanding what was going on. Is this also a heaven's punishment? Why is there no lightning or lightning? Only natural Tao diagram patterns have appeared. Many people were confused, not understanding why this was happening. This natural pattern enveloped Yi Fan below. No wonder. Saint physiques have a curse that is difficult to break after all. A sect master from an undying inheritance in the central state said. The ancient sages speculated that the Saint physique's future path has been severed. All of this is true. No wonder there hasn't been a large success Saint physique that has appeared after more than 100,000 years. The world cannot approve of this. An elder from an undying imperial court sighed. The exceptional divine king transmitted sound to Yi Fan, shouting, "Don't be distracted. You have to pass this trial. I will help you. I won't give up. I'm going to continue forward." Yi Fan also shouted loudly. It's not that big of a deal. Even if it is a broken path, it can still be mended by defying the heavens. The exceptional divine king's voice resounded through heaven and earth. He wanted to help Yi Fan repair the broken path of the Saint Physique. Chapter 4:12. After Yi Fan broke through to the four extreme mystic realms, a Khanate Dao diagram came crashing down. It was grand and dignified, profound and complex. It was irresistible and wanted to beat him back to his original form. This had long surpassed the scope of heavenly tribulation. It wasn't thunder or lightning, but the Khanate patterns of the heaven and earth that represented the will of the great Tao. The world didn't recognize the saint body. This was an ending that left one in despair. How could one resist in this world? It was impossible to transcend the great worlds. As long as one lived in this world, nothing could be changed. Yi Fan was unwilling. He smashed the heavens with the cauldron. His white clothes were stained with saint blood as his body resisted the Khanate. Even his black hair was about to ignite. His entire body burned with golden flames as he struggled. The peerless divine king was also unyielding. His hair was white like snow and his eyebrows were straight. He summoned the Li Fire divine furnace to seal the heavens and stop the Tao diagram from descending. He wanted to continue the path for the saint body. Breaking this Khanate Tao diagram and obliterating the Khanate patterns was easier said than done. This was a tangible manifestation of the Tao. Now it clashed with the saint body and couldn't exist side by side. The world cannot be defied and the great Tao cannot be defied. The saint body's path has been severed and no one can continue it. The ancient sages have already concluded that who can go against the will of the world? None of this can be changed. The peak figures of the Central Plains' undying imperial court and the sect masters of the 100 sects spoke one after another. It was recorded in the ancient texts that the world had changed and the saint body was difficult to cultivate. Why is it like this? He has already succeeded but the world doesn't recognize him. How can this be? The heavenly Tao cannot be defied. Even if he goes against the heavens he will still be struck down. What a pity. After hundreds of thousands of years, someone has finally broken the curse. I didn't think that there would be such a tribulation at the last moment. There is no road ahead. Everyone was discussing. Many cultivators were puzzled. Everyone had different expressions. Some sneered, some gloated, some sighed and some felt regret. Many great powers let out a long breath. If a large success saint body appeared in the future, the pressure on them would be too great. Now they could finally relax. Many people revealed meaningful expressions. This child is a bit different from the saint bodies of the past. In the past there were holy lands that cultivated saint bodies. When they entered the fifth layer of the Tao Palace, they encountered a disaster and were stopped by the Khanate patterns. What a pity. In the end I still couldn't break through the curse. In the end it was all for naught. At this moment Yi Fan had no way out. He could only resist. He held the Bodhi seed in his hand, his hair flying in anger. He raised his fist and smashed it into the sky. His golden fist interweaved with patterns, producing Tao trajectories to resist the patterns in the sky. But people could clearly see that the void was shaking like a piece of rag. It was about to be torn apart under the terrifying physical body of the sacred physique. But that grand Tao diagram wasn't affected in the slightest. It steadily and slowly descended, causing the void to collapse and the earth around Yi Fan to crack apart. This was a type of shapeless and mighty force that descended like a river of stars. It was all-pervasive and unstoppable, and it crushed everything in its path and obliterated any material substance. Even someone as strong as Yi Fan's body was emitting crackling sounds. Strands of light golden blood flowed out from his pores. In the end, half of his body was dyed red. Clang. The cauldron formed from the source energy of all things was simple and imposing. It turned into a 100-foot-high mountain that shook the hearts of those who heard it. It struck into the heavens, branding the void. The Tao diagram that was formed from the interweaving of the heavens and earth slowly revolved, bringing with it the entire heavens as it came crashing down. It collided with the great cauldron, but it wasn't damaged in the slightest. It was simply irresistible. Dong. The source energy of all things fell. If it weren't a holy object between the heavens and earth, it would have long since turned to powder. Only it could coexist with the world and not be obliterated. Buzz. The leaf flame divine furnace trembled. Patterns rushed out from within, similarly containing the aura of the great Tao. It defied the heavens and rushed into the skies to meet the Tao diagram. This is Great Emperor Array Patterns. The innate patterns left behind by an ancient great emperor. Many cultivators cried out in alarm, all of them overwhelmed with shock. The divine furnace froze in the skies, towering and unmoving. Only the patterns rushed up, quickly colliding with the Tao diagram. Pop. A light sound rang out. The innate Tao diagram trembled and the great emperor Array patterns shook. An aura that made one's heart race came from the void. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Heavens, it's blocked. That array pattern has blocked the innate Tao diagram. The ancient great emperors are truly unfathomable. The Tao patterns they left behind are so heaven-defying. Everyone cried out in alarm, all of them shocked. In the skies, the two patterns revolved, continuously colliding, but neither was destroyed. But before everyone could finish speaking, the situation changed again. The great emperor array patterns became blurry and gradually disappeared, unable to block the Tao diagram. Not even the great emperor's Tao patterns can stop it? Everyone was horrified. If this was the case, then there was no power in this world that could change this. Wrong, the ancient great emperors can absolutely defy the heavens. If they were reborn, they would definitely be able to break the curse of the saint body and have a smooth road ahead. That is indeed the case. The great emperor array patterns just now were only a corner and not perfect. The ancient sages speculated that before becoming a great emperor, one could at most comprehend 1/10 of the great emperor's array patterns. I am unwilling. Yifan shouted out loud. His entire body surged with essence energy as he bathed in divine light. He looked up into the skies. The source cauldron floated above his head, sending down strands of mysterious yellow energy that protected him. The void trembled. This was the first time he displayed a phenomenon. Everything around him was hazy, isolated from the great world. He was like a demonic lord that created the world, standing tall and proud. In this small world, he was a supreme deity that split apart the heavens and earth. He overlooked all living beings, completely unfettered. A phenomenon rushed into the heavens. A blue lotus with 3 leaves appeared, expounding the meaning of the Tao. 3 gave birth to all things, hazy and chaotic as it struck towards the heavens. He really succeeded. He possesses one of the most terrifying ancient phenomena, the primal chaos blue lotus. Everyone was shocked. This blue lotus carried with it a chaotic mist. It rushed into the post-celestial Tao diagram, constantly swaying. Unfortunately, it couldn't stop it in the end. What a pity, his saint body hasn't matured yet and his phenomenon is only at the initial stage. If it was a large success saint body, then a single shake of the blue lotus would destroy the heavens. Even the post-celestial Tao diagram would collapse. Many people sighed. There were records in the ancient texts. Even though it wasn't much, it was enough to prove its unsurpassed might. Yifan was unyielding. He stood tall in this small world, resisting the post-celestial Tao diagram. The void trembled. Mountains and rivers appeared, striking towards the heavens and smashing into the complex and profound Tao diagram. Ancient phenomenon, beautiful land and mountains. It's another phenomenon that can rule over the world. How did he cultivate 2 of them at once? Many people were shocked and even more fell silent. The saint body was truly heaven-defying, leaving many cultivators with a difficult feeling. Yifan cried out. His black hair danced about chaotically as he resisted without lowering his head. The void trembled. A yin-yang diagram of life and death flew high into the heavens. Yin embraced yang and yang embraced yin, life and death coexisting side by side. Another terrifying ancient phenomenon. Everyone was completely shocked. They had their speculations before, but they didn't want it to be true. The saint body's phenomenon wasn't just a single one. Yifan did everything he could to attack, but his body was already dripping with blood. He was suppressed by the Tao diagram to the point where he was about to collapse and his bones were about to break. If it were any other cultivator with a different physique, they would have long since been turned into meat paste and turned to ashes. It was impossible for them to exist in this world. Yifan spat out a mouthful of blood that carried a faint golden color. It dyed his clothes red and his entire body was in tatters. His black hair stood on end and his eyes were unyielding as he angrily stared into the heavens. Bang! A figure appeared. This was another of him, sitting high in the 9-layered heavens. Mysterious yellow energy swirled around his body as he overlooked the world like an immortal king that had been born. This type of phenomenon rushed upwards, striking towards the Tao diagram. It carried the might of tens of thousands of caddies. That figure continuously formed seals that were incomparably profound as it branded the post-celestial Tao diagram. This is an immortal king descending to the 9 heavens. It really is like this. All sorts of terrifying ancient phenomena are intersecting, and this is only a part of it. His phenomenon has yet to fully evolve and take form. Everyone was shocked. Although they had a premonition a long time ago, they still couldn't help but be shocked. Yi Fan coughed out blood. His body was on the verge of breaking apart and he couldn't hold on any longer. There was nothing that could block the post-celestial Tao diagram and he was about to be crushed to pieces. He was in despair and was filled with unwillingness, but there was nothing he could do. He had successfully ascended the 4 extreme mystic realms, but at the final moment he had fallen into the bottomless abyss. He finally understood why his saint body hadn't reached the large success stage after hundreds of thousands of years. This curse wasn't within his body, but rather because the world didn't approve of it, so how could he resist it? As long as he lived in this world, there was simply no way to change his fate. He was filled with despair. This feeling of helplessness made him feel extremely uncomfortable and all his hopes turned to dust. Although this world has changed, it isn't a dead end for a saint body. The power of man can defy the heavens and continue on this broken path. Once you cross it, you will be able to see the sea and sky. The peerless divine king shouted. At the same time the world trembled. A terrifying pressure made everyone tremble, wanting to prostrate themselves in worship. It was as if a million volcanoes were erupting, as if a million demonic mountains were descending, as if a boundless starry sky was falling. This world seemed like it was about to collapse. The eternal universe furnace was reviving. The peerless divine king made some preparations. He placed the sacred furnace forged from phoenix blood and scarlet gold in the void. Phoenix blood rushed into the heavens and scarlet light shone like a rosy sunset. The entire grand divine city was submerged. Over half of the cultivators fell to the ground, unable to withstand this extreme divine might. It was as if they could feel the aura of an ancient great emperor. In the night sky, the post-celestial Tao diagram was frozen in place. It was unable to descend or approach Yi Fan. The cultivators that could still stand all sucked in a cold breath of air. The might of an ancient great emperor was indeed unimaginable. It could absolutely defy the heavens. The saint artifact they had left behind had only been revived, yet it was able to block all of this. What would happen if they fought their way out? However, the white-clothed divine king wasn't happy at all. Instead, he revealed a serious expression. If the post-celestial patterns didn't disappear, then that proved that the world didn't approve of it. It was impossible for him to forever revive the eternal universe Saint Furnace and maintain it like this. In this world, besides a great emperor, there was no one that could do this. Many cultivators could see that the broken path of a saint body was difficult to repair. The Saint Furnace could protect it for a moment, but it couldn't protect it forever. Yi Fan's world and his future path had already been blocked. On the other side, the little golden life's lightning tribulation was infinitely weakened. It was originally covered in wounds and constantly wiping away its tears, but now it easily blocked the heavenly tribulation. The people of the Grand Xia Empire were extremely nervous. They sent a sound transmission to the divine silkworm, telling it to not approach the Saint Furnace no matter what. If it was dragged into this, perhaps after the Saint Furnace disappeared, there would be an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation. Cough. The peerless divine king coughed out a mouthful of blood in front of everyone. The blood dyed his white robes red, a ghastly sight to behold. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat. In particular, the saint sovereigns of the eastern wastelands. Their eyes flashed as strange thoughts appeared in their minds. The rumors were true. The peerless divine king most likely didn't have long to live. Senior, put away the Saint Furnace. Yi Fan spoke. He had calmed down. He had to face the Tao diagram in the air without fear of death. The divine king's white robes fluttered in the wind. Although he could look down upon the entire eastern wastelands, how could he contend with the heavens? He was filled with exhaustion. It was like watching fairy Rosy Cloud pass away with his own eyes. He was powerless to reverse the heavens. Bzz. The void trembled and the eternal universe Saint Furnace vanished from sight. Rumble. The post-celestial Tao diagram pressed down. Yi Fan's bones broke and his body was pierced through. His divine sense shattered and he was about to be torn apart. Yet he stood there not collapsing. Everyone knew that the saint body was most likely going to perish. No one would be able to save him. Many people of the younger generation let out a long breath. Their expressions were different. Some were happy, some were gloating. The saint's sons and saintesses looked at each other in silence, their expressions strange. It was clear that their hearts weren't calm. Even the saint sovereigns and the supreme sect masters of the Central Plains were moved. Many great powers felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. Easy. Pangbo was speechless. Endure. Tu Fei and Li Heishui shouted. The luster in the eyes of An Miaoi, who was the most beautiful under the heavens, dimmed. This result was hard for her to accept. She also felt a sense of despair. Is this really a dead end? Yi Fan's voice was calm as he stared at the post-celestial Tao diagram covering his body. Swish. A light flashed and the God King's Pure Land opened. Yi Fan was brought into the Pure Land by the God King. Spirit springs gurgled and fragrant flowers bloomed. Everything was peaceful and tranquil. However, it still couldn't stop the post-celestial pattern. It also followed and covered Yi Fan, entering his body in divine sense. Yi Fan screamed. All his pores were bleeding. He was about to be smashed into pieces. It didn't kill your body. It wants to destroy your Tao foundation. There is still a chance, the God King shouted. Within the Pure Land, the only divine tree was swaying. The white-clothed God King was sitting cross-legged. His appearance was solemn and sacred, just like a god. God King Ancestor, what do you want to do? The Jiang family members shouted anxiously. Within the Pure Land, flower petals fell from the sky. They sparkled and their fragrance assailed the nostrils. The peerless God King's white robes were untainted by a speck of dust. His face was like jade, almost like a god. Plop. With a light sound, a flower of blood appeared in the God King's chest. It was extremely beautiful and beautiful. It turned into a divine radiance that rushed into Yi Fan's body. Senior, don't be like this. Yi Fan shouted, wanting to stop him. However, his body had long been frozen in place. The post-celestial Tao diagram covered his body. He was on the verge of shattering and couldn't move at all. Plop. With another light sound, another flower of blood flew out from the white-clothed God King's chest. However, his expression was peaceful, like a god holding a flower with a smile. He sat cross-legged under the God King tree, surrounded by sparkling flower petals that were stained with blood. That is, the blood of a god. The blood of a god can wash away all evil, purify the great Tao and sever karma. The peerless God King wants to use his blood to cleanse the post-celestial Tao diagram and sever the post-celestial pattern. He wants to use his own strength to defy the heavens and repair the broken path for his saint body. But even a peerless God King doesn't have much blood of a god. It's extremely little. The God King is about to die in meditation. Everyone was shocked. The people from the Jiang family wept in grief. They wanted to stop all of this, but no one was able to rush into the Pure Land. God King, your great kindness is greater than the heavens, but I don't need you to do this. I would rather immediately die. Yi Fan shouted. He was extremely decisive. He couldn't bear to see the God King die. Flower petals fell from the sky, sparkling with a translucent luster. Beneath the God King tree, that snow-white figure with a face like jade became even more peaceful and tranquil, not moving at all. Plop. Another flower of blood bloomed, dyeing the snow-white clothes red. It flew towards Yi Fan. The God King was surrounded by sparkling flower petals. His eyes were closed, unmoving as he sat cross-legged with the flower in his hand. Chapter 413. Within the Pure Land, flower petals fluttered about, stained with blood. They shined like crystals and sprinkled down like a rain of tears. It was a poignant beauty. The white-clothed God King sat beneath a tree, his eyes closed. He didn't move at all. The blood of a divine being flowed out, blooming into the most beautiful flowers in the world, causing everything else to lose their splendor. This was an eternal scene. No matter how many years passed, it would never fade. It was unforgettable, forever engraved in people's hearts. The world was very peaceful. There was only the sound of falling flowers. They sparkled and danced about in the air. A sweet fragrance filled the air as they flew out of the Pure Land and fell into the divine city. There were clearly many people crying out, and the people of the Jiang family were crying out in sorrow, but this world seemed so peaceful. Only this eternal scene appeared. This was the power of the Pure Land. It caused the world to become peaceful. All noise and clamor was purified, becoming a part of this beautiful scene. Within the Pure Land, Yi Fan couldn't move or speak. He couldn't stop this at all. 6 sparkling flowers of blood bloomed, flying out from the God King's chest one after another. They were beautiful and gorgeous, like rainbow-colored phoenixes soaring through the air. They landed on Yi Fan's body. This was the blood of a divine being. It could purify all techniques in the world. Even a peerless God King only had a small amount of it. Once the 6 flowers of blood appeared, it was almost completely exhausted. Divine beings possessed a miraculous effect that defied the heavens. The first blood flower fell and dripped into the pre-celestial Tao diagram. Yi Fan's body immediately shook as if he had broken free from a layer of shackles. He wanted to shout out for the God King to stop, but no sound came out. His heart was burning with impatience, but he couldn't change anything. The second divine blood flower fell. The pre-celestial Tao diagram was dyed red. It sparkled and became a bit different. The pain from Yi Fan's shattering body sharply decreased. 6 divine blood flowers fell one after another, submerging into Yi Fan's body. They flowed into the pre-celestial Tao diagram, allowing him to immediately move. His body and divine sense were both nourished. "Senior, hurry and stop," Yi Fan shouted. The Supreme Divine King sat cross-legged without moving. The 7th God Spirit blood flower bloomed. He wanted to use the God blood to cleanse Yi Fan of the curse, purify the great Tao and sever the karma. This was a type of self-sacrificing action. Once the blood of a deity flowed out, the Divine King would most likely cease to exist. This blood was the foundation of his status as an exceptional expert. Perhaps he would pass away in a moment's time. The innate patterns grew dim. The divine blood was incomparably profound after all, able to purify all karma and wipe out great Tao patterns. Yi Fan stumbled over. He wanted to approach the verdant tree and approach the white-robed God King, but the Pure Land seemed to have no end. No matter how he ran, he could not approach it. "Senior, if you die, what face do I have to live on? I don't want you to use your life blood to extinguish my curse." The 8th God Spirit blood flower bloomed. The white-robed God King became even more auspicious. He sat cross-legged beneath the divine tree and a divine radiance flowed around his body. He was like a divine spirit walking towards the end of his life. The crystalline rain of flowers fell on his body, making him stand aloof from the world. He used his own strength to defy the heavens and repair the broken path for the saint body. He wanted to use his own blood to cleanse the innate Tao diagram. The 9th God Spirit blood flower bloomed. The innate Tao diagram was cut out and rushed out from Yi Fan's body, floating in the air. This was the power of the divine blood. It could sever karma. The Supreme Divine King used his own strength to forcefully sever the connection between the Tao diagram and Yi Fan, but he still couldn't erase the patterns. At this time, his divine blood had been completely drained and he only had 9 left. The Pure Land shook. The God King seemed to have been petrified. He remained motionless without a trace of strength left. "Divine King Ancestor." The Jianghu family cried out in sorrow. At this time their voices finally rang out. The Pure Land dimmed. It could no longer calm the world. The outside world was already in an uproar. Many cultivators were in an uproar. The God King is about to die in meditation. His peerless era has come to an end. What a pity. A God King of a generation. 4,000 years ago he was a valiant hero who looked down on the world. But when he was at the peak of his power, he was sealed in the Purple Mountain. After he returned, his beauty had died and he was already past his prime. The peerless God King looked down on the world. Although he was a sovereign in this world, he lived a miserable life. Now his life is about to end. There was no one who wasn't moved. Everyone was discussing this and many people were sighing. The life of the white-robed God King left them all sighing. Yi Fan cried out. He finally threw himself beneath the God King tree and prostrated himself in front of the God King. Hot tears rolled down from his eyes. "God King, you can't die." The God King opened his eyes, but they were dim and lifeless. He said, "The world doesn't approve. The curse hasn't been broken. I'm only one step away. God King, there's no need to say any more. I have a Qilin divine medicine seed here. Hurry and eat it." Although Yi Fan saw the God King open his eyes, he felt even more uneasy. The moment the Qilin divine medicine appeared, a boundless aura of life immediately filled the air. The entire Pure Land was filled with vitality. "There's no need." The white-robed God King shook his head. Then with a tap of his finger, Yi Fan was immobilized once again. The peerless God King chanted the sonorous voice of the great Tao. It resounded through the world, suppressing all other sounds. Even the tiny golden life form that was undergoing its tribulation not far away felt much better. The lightning that filled the sky was suppressed. Everyone was astonished. How could the peerless God King still have such a cultivation after losing all his divine spirit blood? His cultivation realm was just too high. Just as the sovereign of the Eventide had said, he had definitely surpassed the great perfection God King realm. All the divine voices of the great Tao gathered towards a single point, enveloping the connate Tao diagram that floated in the air in a bid to obliterate it. These sound waves had form and substance. They were like rainbow-colored ripples that were clearly visible. They were extremely resplendent and possessed an indescribable charm. In the outside world, all the cultivators fell silent. They could sense a loftiness and vastness. Many people felt a sense of peace in their hearts as they seemed to comprehend something under the heavenly voice of the great Tao. Heavens, this is the overture of God. Finally, someone sensed the mysteries and understood what sort of mighty power it was. They could not help but cry out in surprise. How is this possible? How many times has the overture of God been played since ancient times? This song is not completely related to one's cultivation. It is a manifestation of one's mental state. It contains one's understanding of the Tao and one's comprehension of the various forms of the mortal world. Legend has it that the overture of God is only the initial stage. If one were to develop a true divine song, they would obtain a power that is close to that of a divine spirit. No one was not shocked. They never imagined that the white-robed God King would be so brilliant as to comprehend the overture of God. Although it had nothing to do with one's cultivation and was only a sublimation of one's mental state, a cultivator's greatest potential lay in their heart. One day they might be able to illuminate the world. The God King lived a miserable life. Only in this way did he comprehend the overture of God. Everyone thought of the God King's life. Half of his life was lonely and the other half was miserable. He had lost a beauty and was in his twilight years. He had too many regrets. The God King has exhausted all of his divine spirit blood to perform the divine movement. He really is prepared to die here. Everyone understood his meaning. They knew that it was impossible for him to live in this world for much longer. Perhaps ending this life filled with sorrow and regret was a form of release. God King. Many people from the Jianghu family wept. Even the other cultivators were infected. Many people felt their noses turn sour and their eyes dry up. They lamented the life of a peerless God King. He had truly lived a pitiful life. The overture of God seemed to possess the power of a divine spirit. It submerged the Tao diagram in the air. 7 colored ripples fluctuated, causing it to constantly dim. Flower petals fell down one after another, stained with blood. The overture of God lingered in the Pure Land, but the God King's life force grew weaker and weaker. He was like a lamp that could be extinguished at any moment. Yi Fan wanted to roar out loud, but he couldn't move in the end. Hot tears tumbled out from his eyes. This was an unbearable kindness. Was too heavy. I don't want this. He roared out in his heart, but he couldn't change anything. The ancient curse was nearly unresolvable. For hundreds of thousands of years, not a single person had been able to break through the 4 extreme secret realms. The price to pay to break through these shackles was just too great. The God King was using his life to repair his broken path. He used the divine spirit blood to form the Tao diagram and the overture of God to erase the innate patterns to sever his karma. However, this was the price of his life. Pop. Within the Pure Land, flowers and grass withered one after another. Leaves danced about chaotically, falling all over the ground. This small world that was filled with vitality was approaching its end. The God King couldn't hold on anymore. It was difficult for the Pure Land to continue existing in this world. It was about to disappear, no longer existing. Who? A light breeze blew past. Withered leaves flew about chaotically in the Pure Land and hundreds of flowers withered. It instantly lost all vitality. There was a deathly stillness as far as the eye could see. The tinkling spiritual spring had dried up and the fragrant flowers and grass had withered. There was a deathly atmosphere. Lush and vitality no longer existed. There was only desolation and decay. The Pure Land had become a land of death. There was no longer any light. It quickly darkened and became ice cold. The only light came from the center of the Pure Land. Only the God King's ancient tree hadn't fallen. But yellow leaves were drifting about, filling the air with the bleakness of autumn. This ancient tree was named the God King tree. It shared the same life as the peerless God King. If it withered away, that meant that the God King's life had come to an end. The overture of God lingered about, making the dark and gloomy Pure Land seem a bit bleak. The God King's ancient tree was almost completely bare. Withered leaves danced about in the air. The Jiang family cried out in sorrow. Many people cried out, but they couldn't stop this. The Tao diagram in the Pure Land was gradually erased and vanished. Finally, it disappeared without a trace. The curse of the Holy Land had been broken. The peerless God King had defied the heavens to repair his broken path. But he himself had lost his vitality. His eyes lost their luster. He looked up at the ancient tree and saw that there wasn't a single leaf on it. The overture of God was supposed to open the path towards divinity. But today it wasn't for the God King himself, but to help Yi Fan, helping him break through his shackles. The Khanate Tao diagram had completely disappeared. It was lost forever. Heaven and earth didn't approve of it. The God King had defied the heavens and changed everything. God King. Yi Fan was finally able to move. He rushed forward with tears in his eyes. He took out the seed of the divine medicine of immortality and wanted to let the God King consume it, but he couldn't. Although the eyes of the God King in white were dim, he was very determined. He slowly stood up, still looking down on the world. His aura didn't weaken in the slightest. "I can't die yet." That was all he said. He walked out step by step. Yi Fan followed behind and appeared in the big world, standing side by side with the God King in the night sky. Whoosh! The divine city was in an uproar. After hundreds of thousands of years, the sacred body of the ancients had finally broken the curse. There might be a complete sacred body in the future. Everyone looked at Yi Fan and their expressions flickered. That was especially true of the younger generation, who felt an incredible pressure weighing down on them. It was a physique that had an unparalleled reputation in the primordial era. When it matured, it could challenge the great emperors of old. Its reappearance made it difficult for the supreme sect masters of Jianghu to calm down. Endless murderous intent rushed toward Yi Fan like an ocean. It was boundless and surrounded him. At this moment, he truly understood what it meant to be the enemy of the whole world. However, he was not afraid at all. His black hair danced in the wind and his eyes were deep. He stood in the void and looked around. He was extremely calm and composed. Chapter 4:14. The stars and moon were gentle as silver splendor scattered down. The world was bright and clear. The divine city was incomparably hazy. It looked auspicious and peaceful, as if there was a layer of smoke curling about. However, the real situation was not like this. Formless killing intent pervaded the air and came from all directions. It was as if raging waves were beating against the shore and rocks were collapsing the clouds. Yi Fan broke through with great difficulty and finally entered the 4 extreme secret realms. There were no longer any obstructions and he became the first divine physique to break through the curse in over 100,000 years. Everyone's hearts were stirred. This was definitely a major event. It made all the great powers feel restraining fear and pressure. No one was willing to see him rise up. Suddenly the night sky was torn apart by someone. Someone crossed through the void and appeared beside Yi Fan and the Divine King. He was like an ancient vicious beast emerging into the world, his killing intent surging like a tide. This person was a top expert. He produced 2 magical bodies and held great weapons interwoven with Tao and principles as he threw himself over. The void trembled as if someone had torn apart a rag. His battle prowess was overflowing and his blood energy was like a dragon. It shook everyone to their bones and made them feel as if they had fallen into the abyss of hell. Everyone was shocked. The newcomer was extremely daring. He killed Yi Fan and the Divine King at the same time decisively and mercilessly. Although the white-robed Divine King could be considered a peerless expert, he had lost all of his divine blood and used his own vitality to play the divine overture. Now he was like a lamp without oil. The newcomer could be said to be ruthless. He chose this time to exterminate them. Otherwise, who would dare face the Divine King head-on during normal times? This was completely deceiving the Divine King's declining strength. "You dare!" The Jiang family shouted loudly and rushed over quickly. The exceptional Divine King's eyes were dim, but his heroic appearance did not decrease. His snow-white sleeves fluttered about. His Tao techniques were natural and he was one with the world. He was like a walking deity of the mortal world as he formed a seal and shook the void. Bang! The sky immediately collapsed. This world seemed to have decayed and nothing could resist it. It was like a divine attack that could tear through everything. The ocean-like power surged violently, suffocating everyone. Everyone was shocked. In the distance, it was unknown just how many people were knocked unconscious and fell on their backs. Everyone trembled in fear. The white-robed Divine King in the sky was like a deity. With a shake of his seal, the stars and moon lost color and the world collapsed. Pooh! That peerless expert was instantly turned into flying ashes. His Dharma body was completely destroyed, and the weapon interwoven with the Tao and principles was turned into dust. Nothing was left. Every single person felt a chill from head to toe. The white-clothed divine king was like a lamp that had run out of oil, yet he still had this kind of divine might. This truly made people shiver all over. Many great powers were shocked. The godly monarch's ancient tree has already withered. His life is nearing its end, so how can he still have such combat strength? He has lost all of his god's blood and played the divine overture. His life should have dried up. He really is a supreme god king, using his own strength to destroy the karma of the saint body. He's still so mighty even when he's about to pass away. He really can't be blasphemed. Many cultivators were alarmed, and the Jiang family's people were even more sorrowful as they quickly flew over. Boom! Suddenly the sky darkened. A huge black hand covered the night sky, blocking all the moonlight and starlight. It was like a dark cloud that covered the sky. It was so huge that it made people feel suffocated. The terrifying fluctuations made many people faint. Another peerless expert attacked, and he was even more terrifying than the person from before. He wanted to kill the white-clothed divine king and Yi Fan. Boundless killing intent surged, and the great earth continuously cracked. The white-clothed divine king's eyes were without luster, but his body was ramrod straight. His right hand controlled the great Tao and drew out a profound and unfathomable trajectory. That was the manifestation of the Tao as it struck towards the sky. The sky collapsed and the huge black hand split into pieces. Then it turned into ashes in an instant. The clear starry sky appeared, scattering down like the moonlight on water. It was as if nothing had happened. Everyone was deeply shocked. Even though the Supreme God King was on the verge of death, he still couldn't be offended. Two great experts died in succession, shocking everyone. At this moment, it was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. No one dared to act blindly without thinking anymore. The divine king stood there with great divine might. His white clothes fluttered, and he gave off the aura of a deity. No one dared to oppose him anymore. Everyone was alarmed. Divine King? The members of the Jiang family stormed forward and surrounded the white-clothed divine king. They were all so sad. The divine king's life was about to end, and they felt suffocated. Boom! At this moment, the thunderclap broke the peace of the world. The little gold creature had endured the third heaven's punishment. After a short period of silence, the fourth heaven's punishment came. It was scorched and its gold body was badly wounded. It kept wiping its tears and crying, looking at people helplessly. Only its big eyes were still bright. They were filled with tears, which made it look pitiful. That unlucky divine silkworm. After dragging Yi Fan down, it passed the third heaven's punishment too, sighed Tu Fei. In the immemorial epic, the divine silkworm had 9 transformations. It was invincible in this world. It had to go through at least 5 heavens' punishments. I wonder if it could endure it. Boom. The heavens' punishment came down with 5-colored lightning. The 5 elements' divine lightning struck the little gold creature one after another. It was so sad that it cried. Use all your innate techniques to resist. In the immemorial epic, your fellows must have left their inheritance in your life seal, said Yi Fan using sound transmission. Shi Yin had cut this little gold creature from the divine origin. He didn't want it to die. Moreover, he had rented it to the Xia dynasty. They had an agreement that once the divine silkworm changed again, it would be returned to him. At this moment, lightning flashed in the sky with 5 colors. It attracted people's attention. After the little gold creature heard Yi Fan's sound transmission, it ran away in the lightning bolts and used different techniques at the same time. It opened its small claw. The 5-colored divine light shot up into the sky and grabbed all the lightning bolts. Its skin was torn and its bones were broken. It screeched miserably. That unlucky divine silkworm. It's so scared that it lost its mind. It's using its divine techniques recklessly. Li Haishui shook his head. The divine silkworm was panic-stricken. It used its divine techniques recklessly to control the lightning punishment. It made people gawk. They wanted to laugh but they couldn't because it was too pitiful. The divine silkworm's body was cracked. It couldn't endure it anymore. The little nun in white wiped her tears and called it continually, asking it to endure. You have to resist. You shouldn't use your divine techniques recklessly to attract trouble. Yi Fan used sound transmission again. The divine silkworm cried and cried. It moved continuously in the void. After the 5-colored divine lightning struck down, half of the electric beams disappeared and reappeared in the distance. Boom. The lightning was earth-shaking. Screams arose from that area. Many people were burned and vomited blood. Some of them were killed directly. That unlucky divine silkworm. What kind of strange divine techniques does it have? Tu Fei gawked, dropping his jaw. More people were cursing the divine silkworm for moving the stars and bringing bad luck to them. They were so enraged that they wanted to vomit blood. However, the little gold creature couldn't endure it anymore. It fell from the sky. Its skin and flesh were torn. It looked like a piece of charcoal. It convulsed twice and then stopped moving. It's dead? It's just trying to lead the trouble to someone and it got struck to death? Everybody was astounded. Only the little nun in white was crying and calling for little Bab. Many precursors used their soul consciousness to check. They all shook their heads because they couldn't feel a beam of chi from the divine silkworm. It didn't have any living energy fluctuation. The lightning in the sky stopped. It flickered, but it didn't scatter. It didn't strike anymore. After an unknown period of time, people were astounded to see the little gold creature open one eye, sneakily looking at the sky. Holy sh*t. The divine silkworm is playing dead. It's the deceiving heaven divine technique in the legends. It can isolate the great path and steal the sun from the sky. It's using it to play dead. Too bad that it can't stay calm. Boom. Before they could finish their discussion, the last lightning strike of the fourth strike of the lightning strike struck. The divine silkworm ran away like a wisp of smoke. However, it wasn't as fast as the lightning strike. It was almost smashed. Blood splashed everywhere. All the bones in its body were broken. It had almost become a pile of meat paste. It cried and then fell into the dust. This time it won't really die, right? Everyone was incredibly bewildered. The fifth heavenly tribulation descended. It arrived extremely quickly. Many older generation figures were horrified. There were only 4 streaks of lightning radiance, but it was one of the most terrifying lightning tribulations. Earth, fire, wind, and water appeared brilliantly. It was as if a world was being created, heaven and earth being opened. It quickly descended. Many people knew that if nothing unexpected happened, the divine silkworm would definitely die. Suddenly, divine radiance rushed into the sky, illuminating the night sky. A sparkling cocoon appeared around the divine silkworm's body. It illuminated the starry sky, extremely gorgeous and beautiful. This left everyone shocked. The divine silkworm's third transformation was starting. It was still young, its thoughts pure, but the inheritance in its life imprint automatically activated, protecting it. The divine silkworm formed a cocoon that was like a 7-colored gemstone. It continuously flickered with radiance, stopping the earth, fire, wind, and water types of terrifying lightning. Ear-splitting thunder sounds rang out. 4 streaks of world-shocking heavenly lightning struck down one after another. The 7-colored cocoon shattered, turning into endless divine light that surrounded the divine silkworm's body. Following a world-shaking tremor, the final wave of lightning tribulation disappeared. The little golden creature's bones released pi-pa sounds, flesh and blood reborn. However, it didn't have the appearance of a true dragon, but rather a little golden qilin. It woke up. It swallowed the 7-colored radiance around its body with a single gulp. Its entire body released extraordinary brilliance, but its expression was incomparably perplexed. It stared at everyone around it, stupefied, at a loss as to what to do. The divine silkworm had 9 transformations, every single transformation a new beginning. It would completely forget the past, its memories becoming a blank. Now that it completed the 3rd transformation, it also meant that it bid farewell to its past. Little Guai. The white-clothed little nun called out softly, her face full of joy. However, the divine silkworm didn't have any reaction. It became a little golden qilin, not the size of a palm, chubby and chubby. It swayed about as it walked, its appearance charmingly naive. It looked at everyone with an innocent expression, its large eyes extremely clear. It really is heaven-defying. The 3rd transformation divine silkworm is like a golden qilin. There are no true dragons, divine phoenixes, or qilins in this world. Could it be that these immortal images were all evolved from the divine silkworm? Everyone's eyes burned with passion, rigidly staring at the divine silkworm. It was completely different from how they looked at Yi Fan. Both of them had experienced heavenly tribulation, both of them heaven-defying, but the treatment they received was completely different. Many undying inheritances wanted to strangle Yi Fan, but they wanted to subdue the divine silkworm. The little golden qilin was charmingly naive, a bit unaccustomed to its new body. It arrived in front of the white-clothed little nun, its large eyes bright. It stared at her in a daze for a bit, and then it spat out a streak of 7-colored mist. It entered her body, and then it disappeared like a wisp of smoke. "Little Guai, where are you going? Hurry and come back," the little nun anxiously shouted. The divine silkworm ran over to Yi Fan's side. It seemed to be very confused, as if it was trying its best to recall, but it couldn't remember anything. It timidly walked a few steps forward, and then it pulled on his trousers. It raised its head and looked at him innocently, as if it wanted to find an answer. "You were brought into this world by me, so there's no need to be afraid. Just stay by my side in the future." Yi Fan leaned over, and a handful of divine origin beans appeared in his hands, handing them over. Swoosh! With a flash of light, the divine silkworm collected all of them, and then it swallowed them in one gulp. It revealed a satisfied expression and rubbed its own round little belly. It was abducted just like that. That's a divine silkworm. What will happen in the future if it walks together with the divine physique? The divine physique and the divine silkworm are both unrivaled existences in the later stages of their growth. If they grow together, there was no one who wasn't shocked. At the same time, they cursed in their hearts. Yi Fan actually managed to deceive the divine silkworm just like that. It seemed that the little golden Qilin was very fond of him. Although it had forgotten the past, its instincts were still there. Yi Fan extended his hand, wanting to pick up this chubby little fellow and place it on his shoulder. However, at this moment, the divine silkworm was incomparably vigilant. With a schwa sound, it retreated and angrily waved its little golden fist at him. Then it disappeared like a wisp of smoke. Its speed was too fast and no one present could stop it. They could only watch as it disappeared into the horizon. Tonight, everything came to an end. Although the divine king didn't have long to live, his might was still there. No one dared to come forward. The divine physique had broken the curse, and this was already a foregone conclusion. It couldn't be changed, and there would be plenty of opportunities to erase the future. "Divine King, you once said that when Yi Fan broke through the 4 secret realms, the younger generation would be able to fight a life-and-death battle with him. You won't interfere, is that true?" No one thought that someone would make a move at this critical juncture. They wanted to deal with the divine physique. The divine king in white nodded. His voice was calm as he said, "If you want to fight, then let's fight." He didn't say much, but it caused a great commotion. Everyone looked over, especially the younger generation. "I want to fight him." Immediately, more than 10 young figures walked up and shouted one after another. It was obvious that they had the support of great forces behind them. Some of them didn't come out of their own will and only came to test the waters. Of course, there were even more people who really wanted to fight. Murderous intent surged as they walked forward. Perhaps this was the best opportunity to kill the divine physique. After all, he had just successfully broken through. Yi Fan's expression was calm as he walked in the void. He faced the crowd without fear and swept his gaze over them. He said, "If you want to fight me, then come forward." Now, although he had just broken through to the 4 secret realms, he was filled with powerful confidence and wasn't afraid of challenges. He also wanted to test the battle prowess of the top figures of the younger generation. Boom! This place was instantly thrown into an uproar. Many young cultivators focused their attention on him, including the divine sons and daughters, as well as a few young cultivators from the Central Plains. Almost in an instant, many people stepped forward, slowly walking over, forcing their way over. Among them, the golden-winged little Peng was the most eye-catching. He stood tall and straight, his golden hair wildly dancing in the wind and his eyes were as sharp as sabers. He grasped the black great desolate halberd in his hands, like a demon god. "I already said that I would use you to refine medicine. Now that you've broken the curse, it couldn't be better." Xiajuyo's arrogance soared to the heavens. Even though Yi Fan had entered the 4 secret realms, he was still the same as he pressed forwards. Chapter 4:15. Many of the younger generation pressed forward. Wave after wave of killing intent rolled over. This was because they knew that if they missed this opportunity, it would be much more difficult to fight the divine physique again. The divine physique had just formed and had not stabilized yet. Many people saw this point. If they allowed him to continue breaking through, there might not be many in the younger generation who would dare to face him head-on. The bright moon was very bright. It was like a large silver plate hanging high in the night sky. Its gentle radiance sprinkled down, and the divine city seemed to be covered by a thin veil. It was pure white and hazy. Yi Fan stood in the void. He did not recognize many of the young experts in front of him. The ones he paid the most attention to were the little Peng King and Xiajuyo. These two were the top figures of the younger generation. They had crossed paths with him several times and were destined to have a great battle. Now they finally met again. However, what surprised Yi Fan was that the Yaoguang Saint child did not come forward. He was calm and had no intention of making a move. He was enveloped by the divine light. 108 divine lights revolved around his body, making the divine moon in the sky pale in comparison. He was like a deity under the night moon, motionless. "Young master, don't go over first." The two gray-clothed elders firmly grabbed Xiajuyo's arms. On the other side, the old Peng King also appeared. He pressed one hand on the golden Peng King's shoulder, making it difficult for him to move. "I'll fight you." A yellow-clothed man walked out. He seemed to be in his 20s. His body was strong and sturdy like an iron pillar. His skin flickered with a metallic luster. "Who are you?" Yi Fan asked. "I have nothing to say to you. Let me see how strong the divine physique is. Don't get smacked to death by me just as you break the curse." The yellow-clothed man's words were harsh. He had a cold smile on his face and was quite disrespectful. However, he was very careful and stood far away. Not long ago, Yi Fan resisted the heavenly tribulation with his own eyes. The strength and terror of his physical body made people deeply shocked. Fighting him in close combat was definitely courting death. Yi Fan did not say anything more. He stepped forward in the void. With each step, an illusion appeared. This kind of footwork that was close to shrinking the ground into inches made many people apprehensive. The yellow-clothed youngster didn't dare to let him get close, so he decisively took action. Multicolored splendor appeared like beautiful fireworks blooming. It was beautiful and magnificent, illuminating the entire night sky. Of course, what was even more shocking was the energy fluctuations. This was actually a forbidden artifact. It was extremely dangerous and possessed inconceivable power. There were many types of forbidden artifacts, and most of them could only be used a few times before being destroyed. However, they possessed great destructive power. Clearly, the yellow-clothed man had not come for a true showdown. He only wanted to use the forbidden tool to kill Yi Fan and make him disappear from this world. Like a firework, the colorful light transformed into a demonic cloud that covered the sky and covered the earth. It rushed towards Yi Fan and submerged him underneath. Using a forbidden artifact to kill someone. This is truly vicious. Someone must have instructed him to do so. Otherwise, how could he possess a forbidden artifact? Many of the spectators felt that this was too much. This was not a fair duel at all. The person who had come was clearly here to kill Yi Fan. Swish. Yi Fan immediately disappeared from his original location. Like a floating light or a flying shadow, he instantly appeared in front of the yellow-clothed man and raised his fist to strike. "You." The yellow-clothed young man was shocked. No one had expected Yi Fan's speed to be so fast. The stars and moon behind him lost their splendor. The dazzling multicolored cloud buried that part of the void, and a destructive aura erupted. However, all of this was useless because Yi Fan had long since disappeared from his original location. He had arrived in front of the yellow-clothed man. Gotcha. All types of light flickered. More than 10 weapons flew out, but they were immediately smashed into pieces by Yi Fan's golden fist. They couldn't stop him even half a step. Yi Fan's golden fingers slashed past like an exceptional blade. The yellow-clothed man was cut in half. He rushed through the middle and blood gushed out. A one-hit kill. The yellow-clothed man was a four-extremity expert, but he didn't have the slightest bit of power to resist. He was like a painting scroll that was easily torn apart by Yi Fan. Yi Fan's clothes weren't tainted by blood. He didn't even turn around. His gaze was sharp as it swept over the many young experts in front of him. Who else is going to come? Many of the younger generation's expressions changed, becoming absolutely silent. Many of the older generation's figures were also moved. The divine body had just formed, yet it was already this powerful. This wasn't good. "I'll deal with you." An azure-clothed male walked over with large steps. He looked to be around 27 or 28 years old. This was a cultivator at the 4th level of the Four Extremities realm, almost at the consummate level. He was about to enter the next great secret realm. Chomp. Light flickered on his body. An ice-cold silver battle armor appeared, tightly protecting him. It flickered with silver radiance. This was a precious armor that flowed with Tao aura. This is a Holy Lord level battle armor. Many people were shocked. The silver battle armor interweaved with the natural laws of heaven and earth. There was a great Tao aura, making this person incomparably faintly discernible. He gave off a natural feeling as if he was one with the heavens. Who is this person? Why does he have Holy Lord level battle armor? This is a young expert from Central Continent. Just now, I saw him walk over from behind the great figures of the 100 sects. Everyone was shocked. This was definitely a young expert, perhaps the first great enemy he encountered after his divine body formed. He was much more terrifying than those who relied on forbidden artifacts. Central Continent's Gu Mingdao. The one who came reported his name. This expert who came from Central Continent only had his eyes exposed. Divine light shone. The Holy Lord level battle armor swirled with silver radiance, covering his entire body. It was as if he had become one with the great Tao. In his hands was a purple golden lamp that released streaks of purple multicolored light. 10,000 streaks of auspicious brilliance descended, making him look like a deity. This purple golden lamp was, without a doubt, also a Holy Lord level weapon. It contained divine patterns and 10,000 spiritual refinements. It possessed tremendous destructive power. Without saying too much, Gu Mingdao took action. The purple golden lamp in his hands released a streak of blazing purple radiance, illuminating the entire night sky. The radiance was resplendent. An inch-long small sword appeared between Yi Fan's fingers. With a light shake, it immediately unfolded in the wind, enlarging in an instant. The dragon-patterned black golden Holy Spirit sword became 10 zhang long. It was thick and heavy, and there were dragon patterns engraved on the black sword body. It was as if it carried the will of heaven and earth. When this sword appeared, everyone sucked in a cold breath of air. Its origins were great, and it was cut out from the 9-orifice stone golem. It was a small divine object. Yi Fan brandished the 10 zhang great sword, crushing the void. It hacked down on the resplendent purple radiance, immediately shattering it. Just the strike alone possessed the power of 10,000 soldiers. Pung pung. Yi Fan held the black great sword, pointing it towards the south. He pressed forward step by step in the void, making the heavens tremble. His footsteps were like the divine drums of the celestial court. Every time it descended, someone's body would tremble. It possessed a mysterious Tao force, as if it was stepping on their hearts. Quite a few people quickly backed up, blood flowing out from the corners of their mouths. The divine body is this powerful. Many people were stunned. No wonder the young experts of the 4 extremes all wear Holy Lord battle clothes. Everyone couldn't help but be shocked. The purple golden lamp in Gu Mingdao's hands flew up, fixing itself in the heavens like a purple sun. Tens of thousands of auspicious lights scattered down, purple multicolored light rushing into the heavens. Every streak of auspicious light was like a great waterfall. Over 10,000 of them poured down at the same time. This was a majestic and shocking scene. Rumbling sounds rang out, purple mists overflowing into the heavens, as if over 10,000 great purple dragons were dancing about. Yi Fan was at the center, baptized by over 10,000 great waterfalls, imprisoned by over 10,000 great dragons. The purple golden lamp's Tao force was boundless, producing destructive radiance, about to refine Yi Fan. This is a cultivator at the 4 extremes level, wielding a Holy Lord level weapon. It's too terrifying. Many people were stunned. Suddenly heaven and earth trembled. A green lotus appeared at Yi Fan's side. It only had 3 leaves, yet it contained the will of all things. With a light shake, everything was immediately set in place. The primal chaos green lotus. The divine body has displayed a phenomenon. This is one of the most terrifying ancient powers. Many people cried out in alarm, revealing expressions of shock. Yi Fan was like a deity, moving through the great waterfalls falling from the heavens. His gait was calm, pressing forward step by step with the black greatsword in hand. His footsteps never stopped, the rhythm never changing. Even a Holy Lord level weapon couldn't stop him. Gu Mingdao's expression changed. He wanted to withdraw the purple golden lamp, but he couldn't do as he wished. He had no choice but to continue activating his divine force, using the purple golden lamp to refine Yi Fan. However, all of this was useless. The chaotic green lotus phenomenon was extremely terrifying, completely freezing the divine lamp in place. Moreover, nothing could touch a radius of 1 zhang around Yi Fan. The 10,000 great purple waterfalls that connected the heavens and the earth were treated as nothing by him, passing through them as if he was entering an uninhabited realm. Gu Mingdao continuously retreated, but he couldn't break free at all. Yi Fan arrived in an instant, slashing down with the dragon-patterned black gold Holy Spirit sword. Gu Mingdao couldn't avoid it, and an ancient silver shield appeared in front of his arm, blocking the sky. The black greatsword was as heavy as a mountain, pressing down. Clang. A loud sound rang out, making everyone's eardrums feel like they were going to explode. This was the divine might of 10,000 caddies. Gu Mingdao was wearing a Holy Lord-level battle robe, and he was protected by the ancient shield interwoven with Tao and truth, but he was still sent flying high into the sky. One could imagine how great the power was. Buzz. At this time, the purple golden lamp shook, broke free and flew into Gu Mingdao's hand. Yi Fan glanced at the distant sky, but he didn't say anything. He knew that a powerful figure had secretly taken action, allowing the purple golden lamp to break free. He walked forward step by step, pointing the black greatsword at Gu Mingdao. It was as heavy as a mountain, as if it could split the world. Buzz. The void trembled as Yi Fan swung the Holy Spirit sword, sweeping over with the momentum of 1,000 soldiers. The greatsword slashed through the sky, emitting terrifying demonic sounds. Clang. Gu Mingdao resisted with the purple golden lamp. Divine flames filled the sky, turning the night sky purple, but it still couldn't stop Yi Fan's footsteps. He had a peerless edge and his divine courage was unstoppable. Clang clang, Yi Fan continuously swung the black holy sword. He was like an ancient god of war resurrected. His black hair danced wildly, his eyes sharp, and his white clothes fluttered as he suppressed Gu Mingdao. His body was dyed with a layer of golden brilliance, and he continuously swung the black dragon sword and the black gold sword. A total of 13 slashes fell, and even though Gu Mingdao was protected by the Holy Lord battle robe, he was still shaken and coughed up blood. Everyone was shocked. Even a weapon interwoven with Tao and truth couldn't stop Yi Fan, so how could they resist? Gu Mingdao was strong enough and he was wearing the Holy Lord battle will and holding a Holy Lord battle weapon, but he was still no match. He was almost shaken to death by Yi Fan. Clang. Yi Fan's last slash sent Gu Mingdao flying 5,000 feet away. Blood dyed the sky. He couldn't resist it all and he fell into the dust. Whoosh. A purple waterfall appeared and swept him away, disappearing into the distance. Who else wants to fight? Yi Fan swept his gaze forward. Everyone was shocked. He had just formed a holy physique, and he already had such battle prowess when he just entered the 4 extreme secret realms. He could already look down on the younger generation. Many people became silent, and many cultivators looked towards the saint children and saintesses. They were the only ones who could come out and fight. The other people of the younger generation couldn't resist. Yao Guang Saint Child, Ji Clan Divine King Physique, Jade Lake Saintess, Yao Shi Purple Mansion Saintess, and the others' expressions didn't change, but no one knew what they were thinking. Only Miaoyi was smiling faintly. Seeing Yi Fan's battle prowess, her smile could topple cities. Her style was peerless and she was calm and composed. She radiated with boundless charm. Release me. Xiajuyo's voice traveled over, shouting at the 2 gray-robed elders. A 7-colored divine radiance bloomed from his forehead. Young master, it won't be too late to fight him after you reach the next realm. The 2 gray-robed elders advised. If I advance another realm, I won't be in the 4 extreme secret realms anymore. What's the point of killing him then? Xiajuyo's arrogance soared to the heavens. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. The holy physique displayed such terrifying battle prowess, and there was still someone who dared to speak like this. However, when everyone saw that it was him, they felt relieved. This was a youth who rapidly rose up like a comet. It could be said that he was an unrivaled genius that was rarely seen since ancient times. He was only 13 or 14 years old, yet he had already reached the great circle of the 4 extremes and was about to advance to the next secret realm. How many people could do this in the present age? Young master. The 2 gray-robed elders' foreheads were sweating. Step back, both of you. Who is the master and who is the servant? Xiajuyo shouted coldly. Although he had red lips, white teeth and was extremely beautiful, he also had an intimidating aura. Yi Fan stood in the void with a large sword on his back. He calmly watched everything with an indifferent expression. In the end, Xiajuyo walked forward. The 2 gray-robed elders couldn't stop him. He was incomparably confident as he slowly walked in the air. You finally broke the curse and formed a holy physique. You can provide me with holy blood to refine medicine. Xiajuyo was the same as before. He saw Yi Fan as prey and didn't care that he advanced to the 4 extreme secret realms. You want to use me to refine medicine? Do you have the ability? Yi Fan didn't get angry. He calmly stared at this opponent who was so beautiful that it was almost like a devil. So what if you broke the curse? In the brilliant era before the primordial era where kings rose up, even a holy physique with great success couldn't be number 1 in the world. There was never a lack of great enemies to contend against. Xiajuyo laughed coldly. His bright red lips and snow-white teeth flickered with a crystalline luster. He said, I will mercilessly defeat you and take you as my eternal servant. I will let you understand what it means to be number one in the world. If you lose, how about becoming my servant? Yi Fan strode forward. Every step he took was like the roar of a war drum, shaking the heaven and earth. I'm number one in the world. Whether it is physique or cultivation, I can suppress you. Xianxia pressed forward. His hair danced in the wind, making him look ethereal and otherworldly. He said, "Provide me with holy blood for life and be my servant." Yi Fan made his move. There was no point in talking to such a person. Only by suppressing her could he resolve everything. That's an immortal king descending to the 9 heavens. One of the most terrifying phenomena of the primordial era. Everyone cried out in surprise. They were all incomparably nervous. Yi Fan displayed this phenomenon and manifested another version of himself. He sat high up in the 9 heavens with black and yellow chi revolving around him. He was like an immortal king overlooking the common people. The immortal king body in this phenomenon reached out a large hand and grabbed at Xianxia. Suddenly, this part of the world was isolated. Xianxia seemed to be standing in another starry sky. His expression was solemn as he resisted the immortal king. Unhurried celestial music rang out. This is the 9 underworld's immortal song. What? Could it be that he has the same physique as Jianghu? This is a terrifying Tao sound that exists side by side with the divine overture. 8,000 years ago, a Jianghu appeared in the Central Plains. He was just a step away from becoming a great emperor and was unrivaled. It was rumored that he passed away in meditation in the eastern wastelands. Many people knew about it and immediately associated it with that unrivaled character. Chapter 416. Jianghu, an unrivaled figure from 8,000 years ago. He was unrivaled throughout the world, looking down on all living beings. He was only a step away from becoming a great emperor, and it was rumored that he passed away in meditation in the great wastelands. The faintly discernible immortal music lingered in the air, as if it flowed over from ancient times. It resonated with the great Tao, filling the night sky with an indescribable charm. Under the moonlight, Xianxia was dressed in white. His eyes were clear and his hair fluttered in the wind. It was as if he was standing in a pure land of immortals. However, there was a type of killing intent surging. At this moment, the bodies of many cultivators cracked, their organs were about to be injured, their souls were about to be destroyed, and even their bones were about to melt. Boundless killing intent. When the heavens released killing intent, the stars changed positions. When the earth released killing intent, dragons and snakes rose from the land. When humans released killing intent, heaven and earth were overturned. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts, quickly retreating in shock. The 9 Nether Immortal song rang out, and it contained boundless killing intent. It simply had the power to collapse the heavens and rend the earth. Xianxia was clearly standing very close, yet he gave others an extremely faintly discernible feeling, as if he was standing on the other side of the starry sky, isolated in another world that couldn't be reached. The attack of an immortal king covered the heavens and earth, the large hand covering the sky dome, almost pressing to Xianxia's side, colliding intensely with the Tao sound in that world. It was like a battle between a million troops, piercing through metal and splitting stone, sweeping up the sky, like a tsunami that reached the heavens and countless great stars fell. The two of them had just faced each other when they released world-shocking attacks. Yi Fan stood silently in the void, majestic and unmoving. He produced a small world that floated in the 9 heavens. Above his head, 10,000 streaks of mysterious yellow energy descended. He produced another him, sitting high in the 9 heavens, his appearance dignified like a god. An immortal king descending into the 9 heavens, one of the most terrifying phenomena of the ancient times. As soon as it was displayed, it had the power to rend heaven and earth, suppressing everyone. An immortal king descended into the mortal world, looking down on the common people. He walked down from above the 9 heavens heading towards Xianxia. He wore a 9-dragon crown on his head, and he wore a 10,000 dragon robe, his might overflowing the heavens. The void trembled, almost about to be torn apart. The immortal king tore open the restriction, continuously closing in on Xianxia, wanting to break into his pure land. Clang clang. The immortal song shook the world, killing intent surging like a tide. It was as if a magnificent army was galloping forward, causing the stars and moon to lose their luster and the sky to collapse as it obstructed the enemy. Boom. The might of the immortal king was unparalleled. His large hand continuously bombarded the Tao sound that had taken form, colliding intensely with it. The 9 Nether Immortal song was a world-renowned song. Since the ancient times, it had only been played a few times. It stood side by side with the divine overture, a world-shaking sound that possessed incomparable might. It could be said that it possessed the profundities of seizing the creation of the heavens and the earth, and it could obliterate all techniques in the world. If it was anyone else that came here to fight it, that person would have died without a doubt a long time ago. They would have definitely been turned into powder, and it would be utterly impossible to approach it. His divine body was unparalleled, suppressing all types of strange phenomena in the world, suppressing all types of Tao power. There was nothing that could stop his footwork, one to break through 100, impossible to resist. It was precisely because of this that the two of them seemed to be opposing each other fiercely, and they were unable to do anything to the other in a short period of time. This was a strange great battle. Xiaojuo's body engraved itself in the void, as if he was standing at the other end of the starry sky. The Nine Nether Immortal song was long and drawn out, shaking up this world. The Immortal King arrived step by step, as if he was crossing the heavens, wishing to enter that isolated world to resist the unmatched immortal song. The faces of many people from the younger generation became pale. This type of great battle made their hearts go cold. Once the Nine Nether Immortal song appeared, who could contend against it? It could erase all methods in this world, cleanse the great Tao, hack down the heavens, possessing unmatched might. This youth with bright eyes, skin whiter than snow was truly a heaven-defying monster. With this song's small success, he could already move unhindered through the world, look down on the younger generation. No wonder he dared to call himself number one under the sky, wishing to take Yi Fan as a servant. Only the Immortal King dared be this powerful, taking the initiative to attack, crossing the heavens, continuously pressing forward, relying on the unmatched irregular scenes to attack the immortal song. Clang, the immortal song sounded, heaven and earth losing color. It turned into tangible waves as if they were streaks of great Tao symbols, suppressing downwards. Dragons and snakes rose together, phoenixes and cheilants contending. The white tiger roared at the moon, life turtle rising into the sky. The immortal song moved the heavens, tangible sound waves turning into great Tao patterns. They were like all types of immortal spirits hacking towards Yi Fan, wishing to erase the Immortal King. Yi Fan was like a deity, towering and unmoving. The irregular scene's power became even greater. The Immortal King attacked in his place, walking above the 9 heavens, forcing his way into that pure land, knocking on the pass. His hands moved the sun and moon as if he was a true immortal king. It was as if he was patrolling the heavens, shattering divine patterns streak after streak, impossible to contend against. The immortal song moved. 9 great Tao patterns turned into 9 winding great rivers, rushing towards the Immortal King. Yi Fan was shocked. The 9 great Tao rivers looked extremely like the 9 Bends Yellow River, possessing inconceivable power, sweeping through everything, sweeping up the heavens. The Immortal King was like an abyss, deep and immeasurable. His hands formed imprints, producing the sun and moon, illuminating the starry sky, displaying the extreme mysteries of heaven and earth, irregular scenes overflowing into the heavens. In the skies an enormous noise sounded. The Immortal King backed up. Xiaojuo was also shaken, his clear eyes flickering with sinister radiance, but his battle intent became even stronger. The Immortal King knocked on the pass, wishing to enter the Pure Land to resist the 9 Netherworld's immortal song. This heaven and earth was about to become tattered, as if a painting scroll was shaking, about to be torn apart at any time, turned into powder. There wasn't a single person who wasn't shocked, their hearts shaken. The two were still in their youth, yet their confrontation was already this terrifying. If they ascended to the position of Holy Lord, what kind of power would there be? Xiaojuo was definitely comparable to a young great emperor. He was only around 13 years of age, far from maturing. His vitality hadn't reached its peak yet he still possessed endless potential. It could be said that he was rarely seen since ancient times, truly a heaven-warping genius of the present world. Everyone couldn't help but sigh in admiration, almost impossible to face. There weren't many people in the younger generation who could fight a great battle against him. Yi Fan similarly made everyone's expressions change. He had just entered the 4 extreme secret realms, his divine body only having small accomplishments, yet he had this type of fighting strength, exceeding everyone's expectations. His irregular scene made everyone shiver in fear. It could be said that from now on, when his divine body appeared, the irregular scenes of others would all lose luster, unable to be displayed before him, or else they would definitely be restrained. The void trembled and the 9 Nether Immortal song shook the world. It turned into a Tao diagram and flew forward, enveloping towards Yi Fan. This immediately made Yi Fan think of the natural Tao diagram interweaving between the heaven and earth. It almost destroyed his Tao foundation, and if it wasn't for the peerless divine king risking his life to make a move, he would have already fallen into a bottomless abyss. The immortal king stood in the 9 heavens with a dignified appearance. He held an immortal sword in his hand, and it was as if he was splitting heaven and earth apart. He slowly swung it, emitting a terrifying fluctuation that made people suffocate. The immortal sword suppressed the 9 heavens, and when it landed on the Tao diagram, a terrifying sound that pierced through the heavens rang out. Everyone in the divine city felt their hearts palpitate, and they were about to stop breathing. The stars and moon lost their light and the world grew dim. Only a terrifying ocean-like aura pervaded the air, intimidating the souls and bones of many cultivators. The immortal king in the 9 heavens swayed, but he didn't fall down. He received a great impact. In another world, Xianxia was also trembling slightly, but the expression in his eyes became even more resplendent. He said to himself, "Only this kind of servant is worthy of me." The immortal king descends the 9 heavens and the 9 nether immortal song clashed, and it was difficult to determine who was superior. It left everyone incomparably shocked. Xianxia must have some kind of connection with Jianghu from 8,000 years ago. He most likely obtained his inheritance and they have the same type of constitution. Everyone quickly made this guess because at his age he definitely couldn't comprehend a true immortal song. This was definitely an immortal song pattern that was carved by someone before him. Otherwise, once the 9 nether immortal song appeared, the world would lose color, and the sun and moon would lose their light. It possessed unimaginable power that nothing could contend against. It was because it stood side by side with the divine overture, and it wasn't any weaker than it. When the peerless divine king performed the divine song, it could be said to be world-shaking. It even erased the curse of the divine physique that had lasted for over 100,000 years, the natural Tao diagram. At this moment, the 9 nether immortal song that everyone saw was clearly far from it. It was definitely an imitation, and not an immortal song that elevated one's soul. It is related to Jianghu from 8,000 years ago. After making a rough guess, everyone was shocked. At the same time, everyone was also extremely fearful of Yi Fan's phenomenon. An immortal king descending the 9 heavens was only at the initial stage, and it was still far from the consummate stage. No one in this world could clearly describe its ultimate might. This kind of most terrifying ancient phenomenon contained an immortal king, and that was enough to explain everything. Is this all you've got? If that's the case, then tie yourself up with iron chains and come with me. Xianxia stood with his hands behind his back. He was arrogant, and it didn't match his stunning appearance at all. What do you have to be arrogant about? Yi Fan sneered. Xianxia had a disdainful attitude as he said, "I haven't even used my heaven-defying methods yet, so what do you have to compete with me? I have the 9 nether immortal song and I can break through your phenomenon. Don't vainly think of fighting me in close combat. Once one's cultivation has entered the 4 extreme secret realms, one can draw upon the 4 extreme great Taos of heaven and earth, who would still fight with their physical bodies. What I use is the great Tao, and that is enough to suppress you." Clang. Dark gold battle armor appeared on Xianxia's body, and it was sparkling and translucent like black jade. The cold black metal made his skin look even more delicate and snow-white. With the dark gold battle armor covering his body, it made him look even more heroic. His beautiful appearance lost some of its gentleness, and his arrogance grew even stronger. His eyes were like water and his hair was fluttering in the wind. In his hand there was a black immortal sword. He was still standing in another world, and it was just as he had said. After comprehending the great Tao, he could imprint himself in the void and wield the great Tao of heaven and earth. Compared to the other cultivators of the 4 extreme secret realms, he was undoubtedly a transcendent existence that stood above the clouds. It's not that I'm bullying you because you just entered the 4 extreme secret realms. It's because the distance between us will only get bigger and bigger. I will advance into the dragon transformation secret realm, and you will never be able to catch up to me. Today is your final chance. Xianxia's dark gold battle armor flickered. His charm was exceptional, and his skin was sparkling and translucent. His eyes were clear, and the black immortal sword was intimidating. He was incomparably conceited. Be my servant and be loyal to me for life. Others felt that this was the best time to kill Yi Fan, but he felt the exact opposite. His arrogance had reached the extreme. Little wimpy brat. Yi Fan only spat out these 3 words. Bang. Yi Fan was as unmoving as a mountain, but his blood energy soared into the heavens. The phenomenon of an immortal king descending upon the 9 heavens actually fused together with him. He himself became that immortal king, and with every movement he made, it seemed as if he could tear apart this world. The black dragon-patterned Holy Spirit sword in his hand shook. It was over 100 feet long and as heavy as a mountain, nearly collapsing space itself. Yi Fan pressed forwards one step at a time. Saint body and phenomenon fused together. In the legends, he possesses unparalleled combat strength. All the cultivators were shocked. They didn't think that Yi Fan would be able to accomplish this after just entering the 4 extreme secret realms. Yi Fan swung his great sword, cutting through the skies and suppressing the 9 nether immortal melody. Boom. Xianxia, who was imprinted in the void, swung the immortal sword in his hand and slashed downwards. A natural Tao diagram appeared and pressed downwards. He didn't approach. Just like he said, he was fighting with the great Tao and wouldn't engage in close combat. The 9 nether immortal melody shook the 9 heavens. Tao sounds rang out endlessly, resounding through the starry skies. It possessed an unparalleled might, able to obliterate all tangible things. This was the prelude to the tribulation crossing immortal melody. Bang! Suddenly Yi Fan tore open this small world and walked in with large steps. He was truly like an immortal king, his divine might unstoppable. Once the all-character of the 9 secrets appeared, his combat strength immediately increased by 10 times. Even the 9 nether immortal melody couldn't stop him. In that instant, Yi Fan tore through the 9 nether immortal melody and entered Xianxia's pure land. He swung the black dragon-patterned Holy Spirit sword and slashed out. Dang! Xianxia was shocked. His dark golden battle clothes erupted with brilliance. The black immortal sword in his hand was raised high, meeting the attack head-on. You! Xianxia cried out in alarm. She was so angry her face was flushed red and her fine black hair danced about. Yi Fan swung his black great sword, cutting open a small world and striking her bottom, sending her flying. If it wasn't for the dark golden battle clothes protecting her, she would have been in danger. Chapter 417. The dark gold battle armor on Xianxia's body was sparkling like black jade. The cold black metal blocked the fatal blow for him. Otherwise he would have been sliced in half. His hair was fluttering and his face was flushed red. He pointed the black sword at Yi Fan. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. Boundless killing intent was spreading out. Yi Fan sliced open a small world and sent Xianxia flying. This shocked everyone. If it wasn't for the indestructible dark gold battle armor, this beautiful youth would have been in danger. The 9 nether immortal melody has been broken. Everyone opened their eyes wide in shock. That was the Tao sound comprehended by a peerless expert. It could destroy all tangible things in the world. Such powerful combat strength. The 9 nether immortal melody was a Tao pattern carved by the predecessors. It wasn't comprehended by Xianxia himself. However, it was broken by Yi Fan with his black sword. I'm going to drain your saint blood. Xianxia's killing intent spread out as he pointed the black sword at Yi Fan. What other methods do you have? Use them all. Yi Fan faced him and pointed the black sword at the southern sky. Xianxia quickly calmed down. The dark gold battle armor on his body was sparkling, making him look ethereal. He said coldly, Saint Physique, you have angered me. I am going to suppress you for eternity. His entire body was glowing with divine light. The black sword in his hand looked like it had a life of its own as sword light flickered and his killing intent rushed into the sky. Xianxia disappeared from his original spot and branded himself high up in the sky. He was like a god as he slashed down with the black sword. Clang, clang, clang. 10,000 swords chimed together as tens of thousands of sword light rained down like a meteor shower. Every dazzling sword light could pierce through cultivators of the 4 extremes secret realm. He had unparalleled combat strength among the younger generation. Even cultivators of the 4 extremes could only suffer grievances when fighting against him. They couldn't block his terrifying sword light. Yi Fan used the black sword in his hand to sweep horizontally. Clanging sounds resounded as though millions of soldiers were clashing. Sword chi crisscrossed and divine light rushed into the sky as though the sky was about to be pierced. Xianxia was brandishing the great Tao. He became one with heaven and earth, the natural Tao. This had long exceeded the scope of techniques, rising to the domain of the Tao. Each time the black immortal sword moved, a Tao diagram would descend. Everyone was stunned. This was truly a heaven-defying monster. No wonder he dared to speak such arrogant words. He truly had the qualifications to look down on the world. His comprehension of the Tao was extremely deep, making many older generation figures blush with shame. One sword, one Tao diagram, just what kind of concept was this? The might of a single sword strike could split apart the heavens and earth, and every sword strike of his was like this. There was no sword light, only the Tao diagrams that fell down. The terrifying pressure caused one's soul to tremble. This kind of Tao of the sword was really too terrifying. Every single sword strike could kill a cultivator at the peak of 4 extremities, causing many people in the dragon transformation secret realm to feel a chill run down their spines. A heaven-defying monster. This was the thought that came to everyone's mind at the same time. It was too scary to have such a cultivation at this age. How many people in the younger generation could compete with him? Could it be the reincarnation of Jianghu? They both possessed the same mysterious and terrifying physique. 8,000 years ago, Jianghu was invincible in the world. I guess he was no more than that when he was young. Everyone was incomparably shocked. Bang! Like a flood striking the heavens, like a surging ocean, Yi Fan brandished the black greatsword. His movements weren't too fast, but he slowly slashed through the skies. The heavy sword had no edge, yet it could cut through the heavens. This was resisting the great Tao, competing with Xianxia's sword Tao. Bang! The world erupted. The black greatsword that Yi Fan swung had a heaven-shocking strength, destroying all that stood in its way. Although it was moving slowly, it was as easy as breaking dry weeds. At this moment, the phenomenon of an immortal king descending into the 9 heavens had fused together with him, possessing an inconceivable might. It cut through the natural Tao diagram, unstoppable. In the skies, the great Tao was like an abyss, unfathomably deep. Jianghu was one with the heavens, wielding the black immortal sword. The trajectory of the Tao he drew was endless, never drying up. If Jianghu could be said to represent the will of the heavens and earth, incarnating into the Tao, then Yi Fan was defying the heavens, using strength to break through the Tao, cutting through all that stood in his way. Jianghu's sword and Tao diagram had stunned everyone. No matter how many cultivators at the peak of 4 extremities came, they wouldn't be enough for him to kill. But Yi Fan was able to receive all of them. This was similarly shocking. Refine your body to resemble the form of the Tao, Jianghu shouted lightly, his voice like the sound of the Tao resounding through the world. The sword Tao he swung out became even more terrifying. The Tao diagrams were like an abyss, each one extremely terrifying, wanting to seal Yi Fan. The void trembled. A green lotus appeared, primal chaos mist curling about it. With a light shake, many Tao diagrams shattered. Primal chaos lotus. This ancient phenomenon appeared, accompanying Yi Fan at his side, immediately achieving success. Yi Fan wielded the dragon-patterned black gold Holy Spirit sword, his appearance dignified. He stood in the 9 heavens, black and yellow energy curling around his body. He also operated his immortal king phenomenon to the extreme. With 2 great phenomena supporting him, he walked forward step by step, incomparably resolute. The black greatsword pointed at Jianghu. No matter how the sword diagram flew over, there was only a single sword to break it. If I can't capture you alive, then I'll just kill you. Jianghu shouted loudly. His hair danced in the air, his eyes suffused with divine light. At this moment he branded himself in the void. The space between his brows blossomed with 7-colored divine light, tens of thousands of auspicious lights falling down. It was as if an archaic god had been revived, making everyone's hearts palpitate. Divine Eye. Heavens, it really is the Divine Eye. He definitely obtained Jianghu's inheritance. It's a supreme divine technique of the same origin. Everyone was stunned. The space between Jianghu's brows blossomed with 7-colored light. The divine eye that could see through everything in the world opened. That was a sparkling and beautiful eye, but it emitted terrifying fluctuations. It shot out like a rainbow-colored waterfall, striking towards Yi Fan. The divine eye, as its name implied, could produce the magic power of a deity when it reached the extreme realm. It could destroy all enemies. Dong. The divine light shot down, striking the dragon-patterned black gold sword until it was buzzing and trembling, shaking Yi Fan's arm until it was numb. If it was an ordinary person, they would have long since died. Dang. Another beam of divine light descended and collided with the primal chaos green lotus, causing the heaven and earth to tremble violently. The terrifying divine technique could almost draw upon the power of a deity. Even a dragon transformation realm cultivator would be pierced through. The divine eye was world-shaking and possessed inconceivable power. Everyone inhaled a breath of cold air, causing many of the older generation to feel a chill down their spines. If they were to face this heaven-defying monster, they would most likely die with a grievance. Xiajuyo's arrogance soared to the heavens. As expected, he had the qualifications to look down on the younger generation. The more they understood, the less angry they felt. Dong. The seven-colored waterfall shot out by the divine eye once again struck the dragon-patterned black gold Holy Spirit sword, causing it to buzz and tremble. Its power was as great as the heavens. Yi Fan coldly snorted. He carried the holy sword on his back and let out a long roar. His entire body erupted with boundless radiance, looking like an ancient golden god of war. This is the indestructible golden body. His saint physique has indeed reached minor completion. He has condensed a unique indestructible golden body. The primal chaos green lotus and the immortal king descending from the nine heavens fused into one with Yi Fan. His entire body was resplendent and surging with divine flames as if he was cast from gold. He was filled with a powerful sensation, and even his hair was dyed with a golden luster. It was as if a golden divine flame was throbbing. His entire person was like an awakened deity. Golden blood chi rushed into the sky as a terrifying ocean-like fluctuation surged. An incomparably powerful aura erupted. Yi Fan took a step into the sky and waved his golden fist towards the sky. The indestructible golden body had awakened. He needed an indomitable aura in order to unleash his boundless potential. Boom. Every movement of his was as heavy as a mountain, causing the void to tremble. The golden fist collided with the seven-colored waterfall, causing the sky to tremble like a tsunami. This was a resplendent energy storm that drowned out the entire night sky. Yi Fan used the indestructible golden body to resist the divine eye as he closed in on Xiajuyo step by step. The flesh of the saint physique is too terrifying. No wonder he survived the heavenly tribulation. Even if Xiajuyo's magic power is overwhelming, if the saint physique gets close to him, he can only die with regret. After the saint physique was achieved, Yi Fan's indestructible golden body was incredibly dazzling. He was like an ancient emperor walking in the mortal world, impervious to all techniques. It was very difficult to injure him in the slightest. Xiajuyo was finally moved. He no longer felt as if everything was under his control like he did in the past. He was slightly unable to remain calm. If he was forced over by the other party, the consequences would be unthinkable. If I can't take you as my servant, I'll extract all of your saint blood and completely destroy you. The nine underworld celestial song rang out again, and the heavenly voice of the great Tao shook the mortal world, wanting to destroy one's soul. It could obliterate all techniques in the world, cleanse the great Tao, and slash down from the heavens. Immediately afterwards, the celestial voice shook, and the aura became even more terrifying. In just an instant, countless cultivators were trembling with fear. This is heavens, the divine song is continuing. This is the Tribulation Transcendence Celestial Song. The nine underworld celestial song is the prelude, and what follows is the Supreme Tribulation Transcendence Celestial Song. This is a young brat, and it's also a little girl with soaring arrogance. She's too powerful. Even the large black dog, who had seen many things, was secretly astonished. Everyone knew that this was Gai Juyo's supreme comprehension, and only he had been able to perform it 8,000 years ago. Once the Tribulation Transcendence Divine Song was performed, the whole world would submit to him. Xiajuyo was still too young, so it was impossible for him to have this kind of spiritual advancement. He was only performing the Tribulation Transcendence Divine Song based on the comprehension of his predecessors. Even so, it was extremely terrifying, and its destructive power was too great when used against enemies. Could be said that it could practically sweep through all enemies. Yi Fan also sensed great danger. His indestructible golden body shone brilliantly, and golden divine flames burned fiercely. He was like a god that had been reborn from fire. At this moment he also displayed his lovely land and mountains as well as the yin-yang diagram of life and death. He combined them with his body and then strode forward. Young master, don't. When the Tribulation Transcendence Divine Song rang out, the two gray-robed elders in the distance shouted loudly. If you haven't reached the Dragon Transformation Mystery Realm, you can't perform this song. Dong. The first strike of the Tribulation Transcendence Divine Song arrived, and it was as if the world was turning upside down. The entire world was filled with celestial sounds and divine radiance, and it was as bright as day. The supreme wonderful sound flowed over from the archaic era. Yi Fan was immediately sent flying 600 zhang away. The entire sky was about to be overturned, and the supreme power was vast and mighty. What a powerful celestial song. Yi Fan's body shook intensely, and he stabilized his figure with great difficulty. His indestructible golden body became even more brilliant, and his entire body seemed to be cast in gold. Golden blood energy rushed into the heavens. Everyone was stunned. The Tribulation Transcendence divine song actually didn't penetrate him. Everyone was stupefied. This is merely the opening move of the Tribulation Transcendence divine song. Let's see how you are going to endure it. Xiaojuyo's skin was whiter than snow, and his eyes were bright. He was truly a heaven-defying monster. Young master, stop. Don't continue. You can't use it with your current realm. The two gray-robed elders shouted anxiously. The Tribulation Transcendence divine song rang out again, and this world seemed like it was going to collapse. The stars moved and dragons and snakes rose from the land. The world turned upside down and the sun and moon fell at the same time. Chung. Suddenly, the Tribulation Transcendence divine song came to a screeching halt, unable to continue. Xiaojuyo spat out a mouthful of blood with a pu sound, and his body was on the verge of collapse. This song could be said to be heaven-defying, almost like a deity. Even though it was an imitation and it wasn't a sublimation of his own comprehension, it wasn't something he could currently play. Whoosh! Yifan was like a comet that tore through the sky. He immediately rushed forward and lifted Xiaojuyo up, and his entire body shone with endless divine radiance. Everyone was stunned. Being forced so close by a divine body, one didn't even need to think to know the terrifying consequences. It was because this was a precious body that had experienced heavenly tribulation. Be lenient. The two gray-robed elders shouted loudly. Don't kill him. The Crimson Dragon Taoist also transmitted sound. You must not harm his life. Jianghu secretly transmitted sound. When Yifan heard this, he didn't deal the killing blow. He lifted Xiaojuyo up, and then brandished his large golden palm and fiercely smacked her bottom. Pa, pa, ah. Although Xiaojuyo suffered the backlash of the Tribulation Transcendence divine song, he didn't faint. He was still very clear-headed and he was shocked, angry. He shouted, I'll fight you to the death. Little brat. Yifan ridiculed. He didn't stop. His golden palm moved again and he ruthlessly slashed again. Many cultivators were dumbfounded. The heaven-defying monster Xiaojuyo looked down on the younger generation, but he was actually treated like a child. Xiaojuyo looked down on his peers, but his illustrious reputation was tainted. Today he was beaten by the sacred body of the ancients like this. Even if he became unparalleled in the future and was comparable to the great emperors of ancient times, he still wouldn't be able to wash it away. Chapter 418. Xiaojuyo's arrogance soared to the sky as he looked at the younger generation with disdain. As soon as the Tribulation Passing Immortal song was played, the stars moved, the moon dimmed, and the heaven and earth became chaotic. It shocked the world. The supreme sect masters of the Central Plains were visibly moved, and many of the younger generation paled. However, at this moment this peerless genius was being spanked. This was a great contrast. Since the ancient times he was so talented that he could look down on his peers. In the entire Eastern Barren continent, not many could compete with him. But now he was being treated like a disobedient child and was being taught a lesson. Everyone's jaws dropped and they couldn't believe it. That's Xiaojuyo we're talking about. He played the peerless Tribulation Passing Immortal song and killed his peers as easily as plucking grass. He can be compared to the young great emperor, but he's being subdued like this. Many cultivators and countless experts were dumbstruck. Xiaojuyo was flustered and exasperated. He struggled violently and moved his arms and legs. However, the Tribulation Passing Immortal song rebounded and he couldn't muster any strength to injure Yifan. Little brat, let's see how arrogant you can be. Yifan really treated him like a child. He smiled while swinging his golden palm. Pa, pa. Crisp sounds echoed. Xiaojuyo's eyes were spewing fire and his tears were about to flow out. He shouted, surnamed Yi. I'm not done with you. He was a top expert of the younger generation. Ever since he was born, he had been surrounded by countless halos. Now he was being treated like a naughty child. How could he endure this? Had a young great emperor ever been spanked before? Never before. He was about to cry and had the urge to bite someone. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Little Yi is too cruel. It's even worse than killing Xiaojuyo. Li Heishui smiled. Xiaojuyo is arrogant and thinks he's the best. He deserves to be beaten up like this. Tu Fei also laughed. I can't deny that he's a peerless genius. Once he enters the Dragon Transformation Secret Realm and plays the Tribulation Passing Immortal song, who can compete with him? Someone was worried. Little brat, do you accept it? Yi Fan revealed a smile. I refuse to accept this. Xiajuyo shouted unyieldingly. He struggled with all his might. His eyes were filled with tears, and his black hair fell down like a waterfall. His Adam's apple suddenly disappeared, and the heroic spirit on his face disappeared. A girl. She's a little girl. Her disguise is gone. In the distance, everyone was shocked. They never expected Xiajuyo to be such a young lady. No wonder she had red lips and white teeth so beautiful. Oh my god, so it's a little girl with a soaring arrogance. This is too valiant. Everyone was flabbergasted. When they thought about how a 13 or 14-year-old little girl was so domineering and unrivaled among her peers, they all felt as if they had eaten a dragon, their mouths gaping, unable to utter a single word. Xiajuyo's jet black hair fluttered while her skin was snow white and crystalline, as if it was carved from fine jade. She was extremely like an exquisite porcelain doll, beautiful and dazzling. I'll fight you to the death. Xiajuyo bared his fangs and brandished his claws. His large eyes were filled with tears, and a single blink of his long eyelashes would cause tears to trickle down, causing him to vividly display his willfulness and stubbornness. Swoosh! Light flashed. 2 gray-clothed elders arrived, both of them expressionless. One of them said, "The outcome has been decided, please let go of our young master." At the same time, Jianghu also flew into the night sky. He was afraid that Yi Fan was young and impetuous, killing Xiajuyo, so he also said, "Let her go." It was very clear that Xiajuyo had an extremely great background. Even someone from the Jiang family came forward to plead for her, which was enough to explain everything. Yi Fan let go, rubbing her beautiful hair into a mess. Then he casually gave her a knock and said, "Behave yourself in the future." Xiajuyo screamed in anger, tears flowing out from her eyes from the pain. However, she was firmly held back by the 2 gray-clothed elders. In the night sky, light flashed. They used the profound jade platform to cross the void and leave, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Even though Xiajuyo was defeated, she was still dazzling. Her performance was enough to shock the world. The 2 gray-clothed elders felt restraining fear, not daring to let her stay here for long. This was because she was only around 13 years old. She was far from being an adult, and her blood vitality hadn't reached its peak yet. She still had endless potential to be dug out. Moreover, once the Immortal Tribulation song was played, whether it was the Eastern Wasteland Holy Masters or the Supreme Sect Masters of the Central Province, all of them would have strange thoughts. Is there anyone else who wants to fight me? Yi Fan stood beneath the night sky, shrouded in moonlight. A layer of pure radiance flowed around him, making him appear peaceful and tranquil. It was completely different from the fierce battle just now where his blood vitality soared to the heavens. But no one would be fooled by his harmless appearance. This was absolutely a dormant dragon. Since he had defeated the insufferably arrogant Xiajuyo, just how many people would dare to step forwards? The golden-winged little Peng had an intimidating appearance. As he grasped the great desolate halberd, he was like a demon god. He wanted to rush forwards, but the old Peng King pressed down on his shoulder, making him unable to move or even speak. Yi Fan glanced at Alcade Saint Ji clan's godly king physique, innate Dao embryo Yaoshi and the others. The outstanding disciples of the sacred grounds were all calm and didn't say anything. The Divine Body and Yao Guang Saint were definitely the top figures of the Eastern Barren Territory's younger generation. However, they didn't want to fight at all. Many people felt it was a pity. Most of the cultivators had come to a consensus that it would be extremely difficult for people from the 4 extreme secret realms to kill Yi Fan unless they entered the Dragon Transformation secret realm and suppressed him to death. Of course, ordinary Dragon Transformation secret realm cultivators would not be able to do it, unless they were at the level of a holy sun. The 4 extreme secret realms corresponded to the 4 limbs of the human body and could draw upon the great Tao. There were a total of 4 realms, and every realm was like the distance between the heavens. For someone of a lower realm to kill someone of a higher realm would be like going against the natural order and slaying a celestial being. It would be very difficult for them to succeed. But now, Yi Fan was only at the initial stage of the 4 extremities, and it was already enough to kill experts at the consummate level. This result was chilling. This was the power of the sacred body. No one dared to challenge or kill him in this secret territory. Even though no one came out, endless killing intent pervaded the air. Under the moonlight, the divine city was bone-piercingly cold as if winter had arrived. Yi Fan could vaguely see that the road ahead of him was filled with the flames of war. He was afraid that he would really follow in the footsteps of great Emperor Wuxia and become the enemy of the entire world. Now, no one came out to fight him because they didn't have the confidence. In the future, there would definitely be a huge battle, and at that time, it would be a battle of life and death. The only thing he could do was to enter the dragon transformation secret realm as soon as possible. This way, he wouldn't have to fear any challenges from the younger generation and could even sweep through the world. Many sect leaders from the middle ground frowned. The sacred body was already so powerful at the initial stage. They thought of the few king tiers from the middle ground. In the short term, they might be able to contend against the sacred body, but what would happen in the future? This was a worrying problem. The sacred body of the Great Completion could challenge the great emperor of the ancient times. Every time they thought about it, it was hard to let go of this thought. Maybe killing it early was the only choice. Yi Fan stood in the night sky and smiled brilliantly. His teeth were snow white and sparkling, and he looked like he was only 15 or 16 years old. There was still a trace of immaturity about him. At this age, this kind of cultivation made all the saint children silent. Many great powers felt uneasy, and many people had an indescribable feeling in their hearts. Yi Fan asked 3 times but not a single person replied. No one from the younger generation stood out to fight against him. Ji Clan's divine physique, demon race's heavenly devil physique. It wasn't that there weren't any young kings who could fight against him, but not a single person stood out. Yi Fan stood alone under the moonlight. He asked all the experts of the same generation, but no one dared to fight against him. This was the first time he established his prestige. After tonight, his name was destined to shake the entire younger generation. The Supreme Divine King walked up. Although his eyes were dim, his heroic bearing didn't decrease, causing everyone to revere him. He arrived in front of Yi Fan and extended his hand. A resplendent radiance entered Yi Fan's body. That's the Divine King's imprint. With this imprint, no matter who kills the divine physique, the Divine King will sense it. Everyone was shocked. The Divine King wanted to protect the divine physique to the end, but how many days would he have left? He was already at the end of his rope. A great battle ended, and the winds and clouds of the night all dissipated. The Supreme Divine King was about to fall, the divine physique's curse was broken, and he could look down on the younger generation. The divine city's years were endless, but this night was enough to be engraved in it. This was the beginning of a great era, something unprecedented in the post-ancient era. That night the news quickly spread out. The eastern wasteland was shaken, and the central plains was stirred up. This was destined to be a great uproar that wouldn't calm down in a short period of time. In the following days, many cultivators came to visit and befriend him. There were people from various holy lands, ancient aristocratic families, and even the inheritors of various great sections. Yi Fan couldn't leave. It could be said that his door was as crowded as a marketplace. He almost didn't have any free time. There were people inviting him and visiting him every day. It was very tiring, but he had no choice but to deal with them. Everyone was very enthusiastic, but how many of them were sincere? He didn't know that if he failed to break through, there might be a different result. During these days, he had always been with the Divine King, humbly asking for advice. At the same time, he hoped that a miracle could happen and save the Divine King's life. He really didn't want him to fall. However, the Divine King's eyes became increasingly dim, almost becoming a deathly gray without a trace of luster. Divine King, just eat the Qilin Divine Medicine Seed. The Divine King shook his head and didn't say anything else. He was going to return to the Jiang clan and leave the Divine City. He wanted to go back and see the extreme physique. During these days, Yi Fan met Yao Yuekong, the great Xia Prince, Jin Qishao, Su Heng, the white-clothed nun, and many others, but he still didn't go see Miaoi. This was because he hadn't taken a step out yet. The divine physique had just formed. According to the Feng clan's intentions, they wanted him to live in seclusion for 100 years. He couldn't come out until he became a divine lord-level character. This was indeed a safe idea. He could endure 100 years of solitude in exchange for 10,000 years of prosperity. In the future he could rule the world for 10,000 years. He could imagine that the Jiang clan and the Feng clan would definitely do their best to nurture him. He didn't need to worry about his cultivation needs at all. 100 years is too far away. Yi Fan looked up at the other side of the starry sky. He couldn't wait that long. He wasn't surprised that the Wind Phoenix hadn't appeared. The Feng clan had only entered the Divine City to test him. They had never said before that they would definitely form a marriage alliance. If he failed to break through, he definitely wouldn't even mention it. Before this, the best choice was to not let the Wind Phoenix appear. He could advance or retreat. Now that he had successfully broken through, the Wind Phoenix still hadn't come. The people of the Feng clan covered it up, saying that she was in seclusion to break through to the dragon transformation realm and should arrive within 10 days. In reality, the Pearl of the Feng clan disdained marriage alliance from the start. She clearly said that she would never marry a divine physique. Even though he had successfully broken through, the princess of the Feng clan was still incomparably arrogant and wouldn't come at all. The people of the Feng clan were trying their best to persuade her. Chapter 419. Brother Yi, why do I hear that you are very familiar with the fairy of Miaoyu nunnery? Feng Lai asked. Yi Fan glanced at him and said, Why do you ask? I'm doing this for your own good. My sister is proud and arrogant. Even if you have a divine physique, she may not care about you. Don't spread any more rumors, Feng Lai warned. Last time he was ordered to test Yi Fan, but Yi Fan did not recognize him and beat him up fiercely, putting on a happy farce of a brother-in-law beating his brother-in-law. At that time, Feng Lai was flustered and exasperated. He swore that he would not let go of Yi Fan, but seeing him succeed in breaking through, he immediately lost his temper. Brother Yi, how can I meet Fairy Miao Yi? Give me some advice. I want to meet her with some friends, Feng Lai asked in a low voice, afraid that the elders would hear. No wonder you are so concerned about her. Yi Fan glanced at him and said earnestly, Don't be so naughty at such a young age. Don't go to that kind of place. You are 2 years younger than me, Feng Lai murmured. He secretly despised him, but he did not dare to show it. What are you waiting for? Yi Fan glared at him. I said I want to broaden my horizons. How about this, Brother Yi, you take us there? I swear I won't tell my sister, Feng Lai urged. Yi Fan was speechless. This brother-in-law of his was really outrageous. He immediately slapped him and said, What nonsense are you talking about? It's not like you haven't been to that place before. Don't pretend to be serious in front of me. Feng Lai was very dissatisfied and muttered in an inaudible voice. Yi Fan was so angry that he laughed. This guy was really different. He wanted to go to Miaoyu nunnery with him. If the Holy Lord of the Feng clan knew, he would definitely break his legs. Don't worry. This is not a test or a test. I don't want to be beaten by you again. Go somewhere cool and stay. Yi Fan glared at him and ignored him. Now that he had a small success holy physique, he didn't know how many pairs of eyes were staring at him. If he wasn't careful, he might be killed. You're so boring. Feng Lai flicked his sleeves and left. Yi Fan rubbed his chin. He wanted to laugh but couldn't. Even if he wanted to see in Miaoyu, it was impossible for him to go with Feng Lai. Not long after, Feng Lai returned and said, Brother Yi, one of the ancestors in the clan said to let us accompany you out for a stroll. We will be leaving the divine city soon. Yi Fan's expression changed. Now was a sensitive time. It was not a good idea to go out and walk around. He did not understand why the Feng clan would make such a decision. But there's no harm in going. This is the Supreme Divine King's idea. He is about to leave and wants to take action one last time. An elder of the Wind clan walked into the room. Yi Fan's heart skipped a beat. Divine King Jianghu didn't have much time left. This was going to be the last deterrence, and it was very possible that he would never appear again. The divine city was as prosperous as before. The streets were filled with endless streams of people and carriages. Especially the recent disturbance caused by the breakthrough of the holy physique, it attracted many cultivators. Feng Lai's friends were either descendants of holy lands or descendants of ancient clans. Each of them had a great background. The men were heroic and vigorous, and the women were beautiful like flowers and the moon. They were truly a group of officials. Feng Lai, your little brother-in-law is a mess. Do you feel a lot of pressure? On the night of the full moon, I saw the terror of the holy physique with my own eyes. He resisted the tribulation celestial song alone. Our fellow saints were all intimidated and no one dared to make a move. Your sister is older than him by 3 years. Even you are older than him by 2 years. Do you feel awkward calling him brother-in-law? Some men and women teased Feng Lai and didn't notice Yi Fan in the distance. There were also some people who looked unhappy. They were the pursuers of the Wind Phoenix and didn't want this marriage to succeed. The Wind Phoenix hasn't come yet. I heard that she disdains marriage and doesn't want to see the holy physique at all. Moreover, the Feng clan hasn't officially made a decision yet. Everything is still uncertain. The Wind Phoenix's beauty can make the fish sink and the beasts fall from the sky. Her beauty can outshine the moon and put the flowers to shame. She is absolutely stunning. At the age of 13 she created a divine technique. It's understandable that she doesn't choose the holy physique. The holy physique can't even cultivate before. Even if he successfully breaks through, who knows what will happen in the future. It's full of uncertainty. The Feng clan doesn't need to be too worried about him. The teasing at the beginning was still acceptable, but the words at the end made Feng Lai's expression change. He said, "Don't talk nonsense." "I say, Feng Lai, what's wrong with you? Don't you also dislike that holy physique?" "That's right. Didn't you get beaten up not long ago? Why are you speaking up for him? What nonsense are you guys talking about?" Feng Lai stopped them. He didn't think that these people would say such things. The corner of Yi Fan's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He strolled over. His eyes were clear and his hair fluttered in the wind. He was as otherworldly as a banished immortal with an agile elegance. Holy physique. The people who spoke just now were all nervous and quickly shut their mouths. Even their saint children and junior brothers were afraid of the person in front of them, let alone them. Yi Fan's holy physique had just been formed. He fought against the unparalleled genius Xiaojiu on a moonlit night and intimidated everyone in the younger generation. Now how many people dared to compete with him? When they thought of the immortal king descending to the 9 heavens and the primal chaos Green Lotus, these people still felt fear and trepidation. There was no need to mention Yi Fan's golden blood energy rushing into the heavens and his terrifying physical body that was comparable to a real dragon. "Brother Yi." Everyone greeted him one after another. Among them, a few young men were very nervous. They were afraid that Yi Fan would take their words seriously. On the other hand, a few women among them were very lively. Their eyes shone as they went up to talk to Yi Fan. "We've personally witnessed Brother Ye's prowess. We've also heard that your Genesis technique is unparalleled. I wonder if you can broaden our horizons." "Yeah, there's a stone square in the sacred land up ahead. Why don't we see it?" The women's eyes were bright and kind, and they all had smiles on their faces as they spoke. Yi Fan did not turn them down. He wanted to try in the stone squares with a sliver of hope. He wanted to cut out an immortal herb to save the divine king and little Tingting. After all, the purple qilin was only a seed. Although it could increase lifespan, it was definitely not as good as a mature herb. It probably could not heal the root. Unfortunately, he did not cut out a single stone after half a day because he had used everything he had, including the origin god's divine sense, but he still could not find the immortal herbs he needed. He could only sigh. The reason why immortal herbs were so precious was because they were just too rare. They could only be found by luck. Even in the primordial era there were not many of them. Was the supreme divine king really going to die? Yi Fan was really unwilling to accept this. He finally became even more determined and continued to collect the divine origin stone skin. In the past few days, Yi Fan did not appear in the outside world. Now that he was walking in the stone squares, he immediately attracted a lot of attention. Many cultivators were extremely enthusiastic. Yi Fan's last stop was the Ji family stone square. He wanted to find the Stone King again, but he was completely disappointed in the end. "Brother Yi, congratulations on breaking the curse." "Congratulations. The great success Saint Body is finally going to reappear in the world." "Brother Yi, I've arranged a banquet at the drunken Immortal Tower. Let's not stop until we're drunk." It was like everyone knew him. There were enthusiastic greetings everywhere. Yi Fan replied with a smile until his expression gradually became numb. In the end he had no choice but to leave. Boom. On the way back there was an earth-shattering sound. The sky cracked. The Supreme Divine King attacked and killed all the people in the dark with a single strike. The expressions of many cultivators in the Divine City changed. They were extremely shocked. The Supreme Divine King was about to pass away, but he still had such battle prowess. It made people feel uneasy. In particular, those who had ulterior motives all hid themselves and did not dare to attack again. The arrival of the Wind Phoenix was so sudden that it made everyone feel deeply surprised. Even the people of the Wind Clan did not receive the news beforehand. They only knew the pearl of their clan had arrived when they saw her. The Wind Phoenix was famous in the Eastern Barren Territory. She was the pearl of the Wind Clan. Not only was she extremely beautiful, but her cultivation talent was also extremely shocking. She had created a divine art at the age of 13 and even fought the Little Peng King to a draw. After seeing her, Yi Fan felt that the woman matched her name very well. She was graceful and elegant. She wore a colorful dress that seemed to be woven from the feathers of the phoenix. It was dazzling and flowed with colorful light. It was extremely dazzling. The legendary peerless beauty could not be seen because she was wearing a phoenix mask on her face. It was overflowing with brilliance and it was impossible to see through it. Her celestial body flowed with a layer of sparkling radiance. She was incomparably holy. Her figure was slender and elegant. Her waist was very slim, and the curves of her body were perfect without a single flaw. Her entire body flickered with multicolored light, making it difficult for people to look straight at her. In reality, she was like a proud immortal phoenix. She raised her flawless and sparkling chin, revealing her swan-like snow-white neck. She was incomparably arrogant and said, "I will never marry you." Yi Fan smiled and did not say anything. His expression was very calm. The wind phoenix was dazzlingly beautiful. Her black hair flickered with sparkling radiance. Her entire body was like jade and dazzling. She raised her head arrogantly and said, "So what if you have a sacred body? I, the wind phoenix, am not interested. I don't care what arrangements the clan had in the past. From today onwards, we have nothing to do with each other." In reality, you don't need to say these things to me. You can directly find the Wind Clan's divine lord and explain everything to him. Wouldn't everything be over after that? Yi Fan calmly said. "There is no need for you to say these things. I naturally know. I only want you to understand that it is impossible for us to be engaged." The phoenix's voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. However, the meaning behind it was not gentle at all. "Alright, you're done, and I've also heard everything. You can go to the Wind Clan's divine lord now." Yi Fan drank his tea as if he did not care in the slightest. The wind phoenix's multicolored light swirled about as if she was a fairy from the Nine Heavens Palace who accidentally fell into the mortal world. She still raised her head as if she was standing high above the clouds. She lightly snorted and swept her phoenix eyes over Yi Fan a few times. The Wind Clan's people rushed over after hearing the news. Several older generation figures entered the room one after another. "Our little princess came. Why didn't you come to see us rotten old men?" The elders all had smiles on their faces. It was clear that they doted on the wind phoenix. The wind phoenix gracefully greeted them. Her voice was delicate and gentle. She knew how to win the favor of these elders. Why did our Wind Clan's Pearl say that just now? It seemed like the elders all heard what she said. The wind phoenix was graceful and elegant. She gently shook her head and said with a sweet voice, "Elders, I don't want to be engaged to the divine physique at all." "What?" an elder asked. "I should be the one asking why. Why do you want to be engaged to him?" The wind phoenix countered. "You." The elders were tongue-tied. There were some words that they really could not say in front of Yi Fan. Otherwise they would appear too realistic even though everyone knew. So what if he has a divine physique? I have never had any interactions with him. I have never known him. Even if I really want to be engaged, I still want to choose someone who can become a great emperor and not a pseudo-great emperor. The wind phoenix raised her head. Her skin was sparkling and multicolored light swirled about. Her voice was moving as she said, "Even in terms of strength, I myself have hope of reaching that step. Why do I want to be engaged to him?" Chapter 420. The Wind Clan's Pearl was as arrogant as an immortal phoenix. Her flawless and sparkling little chin was raised, her beautiful hair dancing in the wind. Five-colored multicolored light curled around her body, making her seem unapproachable. It was as if she was standing above the clouds, overlooking everything below. Yi Fan, on the other hand, was very calm as if he was not involved in the matter. He watched everything quietly with a smile on his lips and did not say anything. When the people of the Wind Clan saw him like this, their hearts skipped a beat. An elder said to the Wind Phoenix, "You have just arrived at the Divine City, go and rest. Don't say anything else." The Wind Phoenix knew what she meant. She raised her beautiful chin and glanced at Yi Fan. She said, "I can see my future. I won't be tied to anyone, not even the divine physique." Her five-colored divine clothes fluttered in the wind. She walked gracefully like a lotus, leaving behind a faint fragrance. The elders' expressions were a bit awkward, and their brows furrowed slightly. The news of the Wind Phoenix's arrival quickly spread throughout the entire divine city. Even the events of her first meeting with Yi Fan were spread, and not a single detail was left out. Sure enough, it's just like the rumors say. The Pearl of the Wind Clan doesn't want to be engaged to the holy physique. Now there will be a big show to watch. This stunning Pearl really has a character. She even looks down on the holy body that broke the curse. I wonder if she will still be so arrogant after 1,000 years. I already knew it would be like this. Who is the Wind Phoenix? She is the proud daughter of the heavens. The reason why the Wind Clan didn't make a decision until now was because they were afraid that she wouldn't agree. Even their Saint Lord didn't want to force her. The Pearl of the Wind Clan wants to reject the sacred body. This is really strange. Not a single detail was left out, and it spread throughout Divine City. Many people were discussing it, and there were even more people who added fuel to the fire. It had to be said that Feng Huangli's name had spread throughout the eastern wasteland. Her charm was extremely great and she had a large number of pursuers. They naturally supported her decision and all of them supported her. Yi Fan didn't care about this at all. He came from the other side of the starry sky, so he naturally didn't feel anything about this so-called marriage alliance. So what if she was the pearl of the Eastern Barren Territory? It was not like he had never seen the most beautiful women under the heavens, but he reckoned that they were on par with Miaoi. Ever since Yi Fan came to this world where the strong ruled, he had a detached attitude towards relationships. He had never taken the initiative to look for the long-lost feeling of being touched. In the next few days, the Wind Phoenix was neither high-profile nor low-key. She often met up with some of her good friends, including many of her pursuers. Topics related to her continued. Everyone knew that she was expressing her own attitude, resolutely not agreeing to the engagement. This gave Wind Clan's elders quite the headache. Afterward, she met with the saints one after another. Although they had been in contact in the past, if it wasn't for the marriage alliance this time, she wouldn't have traveled so frequently. The most shocking thing was that the Wind Phoenix and the Golden-Winged Little Peng's reunion caused a huge uproar. The cultivators in the Divine City began discussing it again. Huang Saint King Feng Saint as and Saint as Divine King Child and the God Saint as of the Saint as were. They stood at the peak of the Eastern Barren Territory. In the past, the Wind Phoenix had a battle with him. The two of them were evenly matched, shocking the central region of the Eastern Barren Territory. The Little Peng King and Yi Fan had a great feud. On the night of the full moon, if the old Peng King hadn't suppressed him, there would have been an earth-shattering battle. The Wind Phoenix choosing to meet the Little Peng King alone at this time inevitably caused a lot of discussion. It immediately became the focal point of the city. The Pearl of the Wind Clan has made up her mind. Even if the marriage alliance is forced, it will still cause a lot of trouble. The Wind Phoenix is making her attitude clear. She is meeting with the enemy of the Saint Physique and is not willing to marry him. The Wind Clan hasn't made a decision yet, so it doesn't matter even if the matter is left unsettled. We can only say that the Pearl of the Wind Clan has won by herself. Yi Fan laughed at the rumors of the outside world. He was too lazy to care and ignored everything the Wind Phoenix had done because he didn't need to do anything. When many people learned of his attitude, they were all shocked and sighed inwardly. The Saint Physique was really extraordinary. It was as if one of them was just watching a show. After Yi Fan made his attitude clear, there were even more topics to talk about. Both of them were extraordinary figures, and their attitudes were so special that it caused many cultivators to discuss it. The Supreme Divine King was about to leave, and he told Yi Fan to travel without worry. He seemed to have a premonition that he didn't have much time left, so he wanted to kill some people with ill intentions in the dark. Yi Fan's movements naturally attracted attention, but no one dared to make a move. They were afraid that the Supreme Divine King would strike like lightning. In his last moments, no one dared to make a move. In these few days, Yi Fan went to banquets with Tu Fei, Li Heishui and the large black dog. There were many gatherings and he didn't reject the olive branches of the large sections. He was surrounded by people all day. It was very clear that the reputation of the Saint Physique was stronger than the Wind Phoenix's, and it attracted even more topics. There weren't many people in the younger generation who could compete with him. The great accomplishment Saint Physique in the future was worth making friends and paying attention to. It could be said that everywhere Yi Fan went, almost everyone knew him. There was no one who didn't greet him and there was no one who didn't know him. In particular, many people in the younger generation were filled with fear of him. The people of the ancient Genesis technique clans went far away, and no one appeared in God City. Wu Ziming, Li Zhongtian, and other cultivators who were hostile to Yi Fan also became extremely low-key and rarely appeared. Imperceptibly, Yi Fan had already established a kind of prestige. Even the Saint Sons were afraid of him, and they tried to stay as far away as possible. Even the Little Peng King suppressed his anger and obeyed the old Peng King's orders. He didn't cause conflict and avoided him. When Yi Fan went out, he saw endless enthusiasm, but he didn't become arrogant. He treated everyone politely, and even when he saw his opponents, he didn't provoke them. He just nodded and passed by. Pfft. Blood spurted out from Yi Fan's mouth. It was scarlet with a hint of gold, and it dyed his clothes red. It was a ghastly sight to see. What happened? Pang Bo stood up abruptly, his thick brows furrowed as he looked around. Little Yi, what happened to you? Tu Fei and Li Heishui were also startled. Yao Yuekong, the saintess of Jade Lake, the saintess of Dao Yi, the prince of Great Xia, the little nun in white, and many other experts of the younger generation were present. No one had expected that Yi Fan would suddenly cough up blood and fall to the ground. Move away. Pang Bo didn't care about anything else. He ordered everyone to move away, and then he picked up Yi Fan and examined him carefully. His white clothes were dyed with fresh blood. His eyes were closed and his face was a little pale. He didn't look good. There was something wrong with his saint body, and he collapsed at the banquet. This news quickly spread throughout the God City, and it caused a huge uproar. The fragrance of medicine wafted out. There were dozens of kinds of pellets in Yi Fan's room, and they were all precious. The elders of the Feng clan came forward to examine his injuries, and they all frowned. How did this happen? Yes, I understand now. He was injured by the great Tao. The peerless divine king used the blood of a god to sever his karma, and then used the divine overture to destroy the innate Tao diagram. But the innate great Tao didn't destroy his Tao foundation, but it severed his life source, leaving behind an unrecoverable wound. He won't live for more than half a year. The Wind Clan's elders made an accurate judgment. They all sighed towards the sky. This result left them incomparably disappointed. The curse of hundreds of thousands of years has been broken, and he can finally cultivate. He will witness the birth of a pseudo-great emperor, but he only has half a year to live. This is an injury left behind by the great Tao of heaven and earth. Even mature divine medicines can't heal him. Their expressions kept changing. The Feng clan had spent 3 million genes of energy source, and they even wanted to form a marriage alliance. But in the end this was the result. It was hard for them to accept. The saint body was about to die. This news was no less than a tsunami. It shook the entire God City, and at the same time, it spread to every corner of the world. Many great powers were alarmed. The God City in particular was in an uproar. All the cultivators were discussing this. They never thought that something like this would happen. The heavenly Tao can't be defied. Even though the curse has been broken, his life can't be saved. This has already been decided. This really is a prosperous and miserable end. Who would have thought that this would be the result? What can he do with less than half a year of life? It's a pity that the peerless divine king has put in so much effort. The saint body has just formed, and he can already look down on the younger generation. Yet he's coming to a sad end like this. He's about to reach the end of his life. There was no one who wasn't shocked. This result was just too unexpected. No one had thought of it. No, this can't be a trap purposely set up by the divine king, right? To prevent Yi Fan from being assassinated, he came up with this plan and then hid him. There were some quick-witted people who thought of this possibility immediately and made a shocking guess. With this theory many people agreed. They believed that this was a trap, a smokescreen purposely released to confuse the eyes of the world. However, there were people who quickly confirmed that this was a real injury and not an act. The great Tao of heaven and earth had severed Yi Fan's life source. It was almost impossible to heal. The people of the Feng clan sighed deeply, but there was nothing they could do. Two great experts of the Jianghu family came as well, but they were also helpless. Even the supreme divine king furrowed his eyebrows. Injuries left behind by the great Tao could not be healed by humans. Since ancient times, basically no one who was injured by the great Tao had survived. Many people from large organizations came over. They were very concerned. They examined Yi Fan's injuries and left behind many pills. Their main objective was obviously to confirm whether the news was true or not. The people who had come from the Central Plains to watch the ceremony and had yet to leave also came one after another. After carefully inspecting Yi Fan's injuries, they left behind some pills and left. The news had come true, and it was confirmed by many large sections. The outside world was thrown into an uproar. There were people who took pleasure in his misfortune, and there were people who sympathized with him. Yi Fan woke up. He stared blankly for a very long time. He had never thought that things would be like this. The starlight in the night was like water. He and Pang Bo laid on the roof side by side, gazing at the other end of the starry sky. If I die, you have to find a way to go back too. Don't go too far. Yi, don't say anything else. You'll be fine. You'll definitely survive. Let's go back together. Help me take care of my parents. Don't say these things. My heart feels stifled. He only had half a year of life, and this was the most optimistic prediction. It was very likely that he wouldn't even have 100 days left. Even if his battle prowess could look down on the younger generation, it was completely meaningless. In the following days, Yi Fan's residence was completely deserted. No one came to visit again. Many people's previous enthusiasm turned into indifference. The bustling scene was gone and it was cold and cheerless. Only the bleakness of autumn remained. The fickleness of human nature and the fickleness of the world were all too obvious. Chapter 421. The road of life was full of ups and downs. Flowers bloomed yesterday and withered today. Who could control this? Fireworks blossomed with enthusiasm. Debris swirled in the air as the curtain fell. The bustling scene was gone. It was cold and desolate. Compared to a few days ago, Yi Fan's residence could be considered bleak. The lonely courtyard was quiet. Yellow leaves withered. Yi Fan coughed lightly. Blood dyed his white cloth red. It was a ghastly sight. He looked at the cold courtyard inside. The ups and downs of life were like flowers blooming and withering. Although there were glorious moments, there were also dark days. Everything was in the wind of the mortal world. The divine city was the same as before. There were no changes. However, when Yi Fan appeared again, the feeling was greatly different. Several days ago, it could be said that everyone knew him. In order to deal with them, he smiled until he became numb. Now he appeared again. Although he was still eye-catching, few people came forward. They were cold and indifferent. When he turned around, they pointed and discussed spiritedly. The 100 states of life were experienced in one day. The divine physique is finished. Less than half a year of life and it has finally come to an end. He was defeated by the world after hundreds of thousands of years. In the end, he still couldn't create a miracle. The saint children can let out a sigh of relief. This mountain that has been pressing down on their hearts is about to collapse. The shadow is about to disappear. There is no need to worry about the Wind Clan's pearl. She definitely won't be engaged to this kind of divine physique. The Wind Clan should be glad that they haven't made any decisions or promises yet. So what if he broke the curse? In the end he still died, hee. So what if he can look down on the younger generation? If the heavens don't let him live, can he fight back? He can only wait for death. Some people sympathized and some people took joy in his misfortune. Their expressions were all different. There were all kinds of words. There were sounds of regret and naturally there were also sounds of ridicule. Yi Fan walked on the street and felt all of this. He was very silent and didn't say a single word. In the end he returned to his residence. He didn't visit anyone that day. He felt that he needed to calm down and think about some things. Late at night, a few strands of starlight scattered down in the cold, lonely courtyard. It was dim and quiet. Yi Fan started coughing blood again, dyeing his white robe into a bleak color. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked up at the starry sky in a daze. Suddenly he sensed something strange. He turned around and saw a sneaky little thing peeking at him from the top of the wall. It was actually a little golden creature. It successfully crossed the heavenly tribulation and turned into a small golden qilin. It was only the size of a palm and looked charmingly naive. Its large eyes were very clear. Cough. Yi Fan coughed up blood again. The little golden qilin flew over, landing on the ground. Its entire body was shining, chubby, swaying about as it walked. It carefully approached Yi Fan, and then tugged at his trousers. Unlucky little guy, are you not afraid of me now? Yi Fan sat on the stone chair and looked down at it. The little golden creature rolled its eyes at him, and then it spat out a strand of 7-colored mist towards him. It quickly entered his body and turned into a wave of warm energy. Yi Fan felt a wave of comfort wash over him, as if a gust of spring wind had blown over his life source. His injuries were somewhat healed, but it didn't change anything. You're quite considerate. Yi Fan never thought that when no one else came to visit on this cold and cheerless night, the divine silkworm would come to visit him. Even though it had forgotten about the past, its instincts were still there. It used its pure intuition to distinguish between good and bad. Yi Fan fished out a small piece of divine source and handed it over. The divine silkworm immediately became happy, and it began to chew on it with great relish. After enjoying the divine source, it suddenly fell onto the ground. Its 4 qilin legs twitched slightly, giving Yi Fan a fright. Meanwhile, at this time, the divine silkworm secretly opened one of its large eyes and looked over in a mischievous manner. You've become addicted to playing dead. Yi Fan laughed. The little golden creature immediately jumped up and muttered in dissatisfaction. Yi Fan was shocked. This little thing was actually teasing him. At this moment, he sighed ruefully and thought of many things. Sometimes, simple little creatures like this were much more adorable than complicated people. Yi Fan suddenly discovered that he, who had a heart of steel, was actually a bit sentimental. In the end, this little thing actually came to visit him on this cold night. He silently stroked the little golden creature. He wasn't afraid of death, but he had some regrets in his heart. He really wanted to return to the other side of the starry sky and see his parents, relatives, and friends in the last days of his life. Why did this unlucky divine silkworm come? Li Heishui's voice came over. Whoosh. The divine silkworm angrily waved its little claws and disappeared like a wisp of smoke, vanishing into the night sky. Li Heishui and Tu Fei entered the courtyard. They had disappeared for a few days to seek help from the 13 bandits in search of a solution. They had only returned now. Eat the Qilin seed. Even though it can't cure you completely, it can definitely prolong your life for a while. Then we can slowly think of a solution. The two of them spoke like this. It was obvious that the 13 bandits had no solution either. As for this result, Yi Fan had already expected it. At daybreak, Pang Bo returned. He was very tired, and the Black Emperor followed behind him. They had gone to the important land of the demonic beast race. The Azure Thearka's heart might be able to help you recover. I will think of a way to obtain it. Pang Bo's tone was firm. The heart of the demonic beast race Great Emperor possessed endless vitality. It was just that no one knew where it was hidden. Pang Bo and the Black Emperor had searched the important land of the demonic beast race for a long time, but they hadn't found any clues. Forget it. An injury caused by the Great Tao cannot be healed by external objects. Those powerful figures speculated that even a mature immortal divine medicine would be ineffective. Yi Fan shook his head, not allowing Pang Bo to take the risk. As long as there is a sliver of hope, we have to try. Even if we have to slaughter a path of blood, I will help you obtain the Azure Thearka's heart. Pang Bo's tone was resolute. All right, none of you should risk your lives. Let this emperor think about it. The large black dog paced back and forth. Then he lay down at the side and fell silent. They appeared on the main street of the God City again. After hearing those discussions, Yi Fan was strangely calm. Even if there were sarcastic words, it was difficult for him to be affected. Woof, human pet, what are you waiting for? The large black dog had never been a kind person. When he heard these sarcastic words, he would immediately scamper over, raising his huge head and clamoring for a human pet. Along the way, it was unknown how many people had been angered by the large black dog to the point of gnashing their teeth. However, it was not appropriate for them to act out, and they could only curse him in secret. The saint physique is about to be destroyed, and this damn dog is still so arrogant. When the time comes, we will skin him alive and eat his flesh. There isn't much time left. He can only linger in this mortal world for the last time. In the end, he is going to die. The Black Emperor left, traveling through the void. He said that he would disappear for a few days, and perhaps he could find a way to save Yi Fan's life. Under the setting sun, Miaoyu Nunnery was embroidered with gold. It sat among the clouds, and there was a layer of pure and holy light circulating around it. It was clear and peaceful. Isn't this our saint physique? I heard that you were unwell. Why didn't you rest and recuperate? Why did you come here? Wu Ziming, who had not seen him for many days, walked together with some people. There was an incredibly radiant smile on his face. That's right. Your health is more important. You should rest and recuperate. Otherwise, look at the setting sun. Although it's beautiful, it's sinking, Li Zhongtian said with a smile. If you don't want to die, stay away from me. Yi Fan swept a few glances at them. He's about to die, yet he's still so arrogant. Does he still have divine power? I heard that he coughs up blood every day, someone in the crowd muttered softly. Hurry up and disappear from my sight. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Yi Fan stood in the air with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the dozen or so youths in front of Miaoyu Nunnery. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. This was a saint physique that had achieved small success. Although he did not have much time left and coughed up blood every day, after breaking the curse, the younger generation were all extremely wary of him. What bad luck. Let's go. Wu Ziming did not dare to resist and turned to leave. He's going to die anyway. There's no need to pay attention to him. When the time comes, we'll see the heavens take him away, someone muttered in a low voice as he left. Yi Fan sneered and said, although I don't have long to live, I'm not someone you can humiliate. I've already given you a chance, yet you still dare to speak rudely. Bus. The void trembled. Yi Fan's golden blood chi soared into the sky. A large golden hand stretched out and grabbed forward. You dare to kill us in front of everyone? Someone cried out in fear. Do you know who we are? I hadn't decided whether to kill you or not, but because of what you said, I'll send you on your way. Yi Fan's large golden hand pressed down violently in the void. Bah! The heaven and earth shook, and the sunset glow was scattered. The horizon became misty as Yi Fan's large golden hand covered more than 10 people. The moment it landed, blood splattered everywhere. Brother Yi, don't misunderstand. Only Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian managed to escape. They were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies, and they shouted as they fled. Yi Fan flipped his hand and slapped down again. The large golden hand covered the sky. Although the two of them were in the 4 extreme secret realms, They felt as if they were fighting against a divine master. They couldn't resist at all. Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian collapsed and turned into a mist of blood. Although they were supreme experts in the four extreme secret realms, they were still easily killed by Yi Fan. In the distance, everyone who saw this scene was incomparably shocked. Although the Saint Physique was injured, its power did not decrease, and it still could not be offended. The Saint Physique could not be humiliated. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The other party was about to die and he had no scruples at all. He must not be provoked. This was the thought in everyone's mind. In particular, those who had made sarcastic remarks were even more afraid. Their legs and stomachs were a little weak. When they thought of what they had said before, they felt extremely guilty, afraid that Yi Fan would hear and remember. Yi Fan glanced at the others. His white robe fluttered as he entered Miaoyu Nunnery. In one of the palaces, it was resplendent with richly ornamented beams and painted rafters. Celestial mist lingered around it like the moon palace. Yi Fan sat in front of a white jade table, calmly drinking tea as he sized up the peerless beauty in front of him. And Miaoyu was a peerless beauty. Her hair was black and glossy, and her skin was whiter than snow. Her eyes were intelligent, and her eyelashes were very long. Her red lips were sexy and bright. She was slender and elegant, and her beauty was breathtaking. The curves of her body were astonishing and perfect. "Little man, you have hurt my heart." Her words were as pleasant as the sounds of nature. She walked over gracefully like a crystal fairy swaying in the wind. "Although I have broken the curse, I don't have much time left. Do you want to kill me with your own hands?" Yi Fan smiled. "I did say that if you fail, I will be the first to kill you. But you are already like this, how can I bear to see you die?" And Miaoyu was smiling sweetly, but there was a trace of unwillingness in her eyes. Who in this world can avoid death? Even the great emperor is no exception. I only regret that I can't return to my hometown. Yi Fan sighed softly. "You have broken the curse, why can't you change your fate?" And Miaoyu's fine black hair hung down. Her skin was sparkling and translucent, flowing with a pure and holy radiance. She was like a flawless goddess descending to the mortal world. She asked, "What are your plans?" "I will come to see you tonight. After that, I will bid farewell to the divine king and immediately leave the divine city," Yi Fan said. "At least you didn't leave without saying a word." And Miaoyu had a smile on her face. She was beautiful to the extreme. She said, "If I were to fall into the mortal world forever, what would you do?" Yi Fan wanted to say something, but her jade-like hand blocked his lips. And Miaoyu smiled and stood up. Her hair fluttered in the wind as she said, "Only if you can survive." Yi Fan didn't say anything. He only looked at this incomparably beautiful woman in silence. "I want you to survive." And Miaoyu turned around and walked towards the desk. She then took out an ancient scroll and said, "Remember this mental cultivation method." "What is this?" "More than 1,000 years ago, a disciple of Sakyamuni left this in Miaoyu Nunnery." "What? Sakyamuni's disciple?" Yi Fan jumped up. "Stay here tonight." And Miaoyu walked over gracefully. Chapter 422. It was a yellowing ancient scroll made of an unknown material. It looked like animal skin but also like an ancient cloth. It was clearly an ancient artifact. There were 2 words on the scroll, Nirvana. Yi Fan's heart skipped a beat. These 2 words had an extraordinary meaning in Buddhism. It was a process of becoming a Buddha. This is the Nirvana scripture of Buddhism? He was shocked. It's only an important part of the ancient scripture, and it's used for healing. In the past, when a monastery master was dying, she obtained this ancient scroll. Not only did she recover from her injuries, but she also experienced a new life transformation, and Miaoyu answered. There were many ancient characters on the yellowing scroll. They were densely packed and there were about 100 of them. They explained the mysteries of life and death and the mysteries of rebirth. It was very difficult to understand. Yi Fan calmed his mind and didn't move at all. He carefully analyzed and comprehended. Although it was called the Nirvana scripture and was said to be able to rebirth, it was only a metaphor. Who in this world could truly be immortal? Even ancient emperors couldn't escape death. The important part of the Nirvana scripture was to change the state of one's life and obtain a different kind of power. It wasn't true reincarnation. Although cultivating this scripture couldn't make one live forever, it could increase one's lifespan and slow down one's decline. This important part was a supreme divine healing technique with inconceivable effects. The moment he comprehended it, Yi Fan's body released a precious radiance. Golden blood energy surged and rushed out of his body, curling around his body. It made him look like a god. Because there is no light, there is no rise in the heart. Because there is no rise, the realm is destroyed. Because there is no karma, the heart is complete. It is called nirvana. The nirvana scripture was a supreme heavenly art of the western desert. It was comparable to the ancient scriptures of the eastern wasteland. The sound of chanting resounded in the palace. It was incomparably mysterious, and there was a mysterious aura circulating. This was a precious secret technique from the ancient scripture. It could be called a supreme divine healing technique. It had the mysteries of heaven and earth, and it was extremely mysterious. Yi Fan had a divine physique to begin with, and after using the nirvana holy technique to heal himself, a variety of visions appeared. The chaotic green lotus accompanied him, the celestial king possessed him, mountains and rivers appeared, and the yin-yang diagram of life and death revolved around him. The indestructible golden body was dazzling. It was as dignified as a deity and had the unique aura of a sacred body. It was as if it was sitting cross-legged in the sky, overlooking the world. And Miaoi's eyes sparkled. She did not expect that Yi Fan not only had an unparalleled physique, but also had a high level of comprehension. He had just obtained the saint art from the ancient scriptures, yet he already had such an understanding. She opened her red lips and explained in detail. Accepting all causes and reasons, reincarnating in life and death, not accepting all causes and fate, is called nirvana. There is no difference between nirvana and the world. The world and nirvana. Yi Fan remained silent. His golden blood energy flourished even more, and a dense mist curled around him, drowning him within. His entire body erupted with divine light. His indestructible golden body was almost transparent like a seven-colored glaze, pure and untainted. He was repairing his life source with great difficulty, wishing to make that great Tao crack disappear, from then on become flawless, forever preserve his undying holy body, exist forever in this world. Yi Fan's body trembled. His blood energy surged, almost turning the entire palace into fine powder. If it wasn't for Miaoi laying down the formation patterns, everything would have been destroyed. This was the physical body of a sacred body, powerful to an inconceivable degree. A light flick could already produce the might of thunder, making it difficult for others to endure. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. His first attempt to repair his life source had failed. Even the supreme healing technique from the ancient scriptures couldn't heal the scars left behind by the great Tao. And Miaoi's hair was like a waterfall, and her skin was whiter than snow, sparkling and tender. She was ethereal like a fairy as she stood beside Yi Fan and said, "Again." Yi Fan stood majestically without moving. It was as if he was sitting cross-legged in a dust-covered ancient heaven, hibernating and waiting to transform into a dragon. His body became more and more oppressive, and even Miaoi had no choice but to retreat. That golden blood energy curled around his body, making him look like an eternal divine furnace, making it impossible for others to get close. Profound and mysterious chanting came from within his body. That was his past self and Tao self chanting, praying for this life in order to obtain eternal life. Yi Fan was shaken again. Scarlet blood mixed with a faint golden color flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Even though he was a sacred body, he still swayed. The second attempt failed again. The scars left behind by the great Tao didn't show any signs of healing, making him sway. Even the imperishable golden body became a bit dim. Yi Fan opened his eyes and lightly sighed. This sacred technique's mysteries were endless, but in the end, it couldn't resist the great Tao's injuries, making him feel powerless. Don't give up. If the first time doesn't work, then try the second, third, fourth time. There will definitely be some effect. And Miaoi was unwilling to give up. Yi Fan shook his head and said, "It's too difficult. This is exhausting one's own essence blood to achieve rebirth. If this continues, if it doesn't work, then I won't be able to continue even if I have a sacred body." If it was an ordinary person, they would have to recuperate after using the sacred technique once and couldn't do it again. However, he had a sacred body and an unparalleled physical body. Once or twice was nothing, but if he did it continuously, he wouldn't be able to bear it. How could this be? The disciple of the Gautama Buddha once said that the Nirvana ancient scripture is the highest sacred healing technique in the Western Desert. Even though this is only one of the essentials, it's almost the pinnacle in the world. It should be able to heal any injury. The disciple of the Gautama Buddha? Who is he? Yi Fan really wanted to know. He wanted to know everything about Tathagata. I also don't know who he is. The beautiful and Miaoi shook her head. Miaoyu nunnery was originally a sect in the Western Desert. It inherited the Buddhist transcendent Zen technique. Later it split and traveled east. It also obtained the Taoist dual cultivation technique and changed its name to Miaoyu Nunnery. 1,000 years ago, the disciple of the Gautama Buddha returned from the sea. On his way to the eastern wasteland, he encountered the Reverend of Miaoyu Nunnery. Because they were inextricably linked in the inheritance, he left behind the essentials of nirvana and floated away. Do you know the past of the Gautama Buddha? Yi Fan asked. I only know that it's a taboo of Buddhism. I don't know the details. And Miaoyu shook her head. The injury of the great Tao is incurable. Yi Fan stood up. And Miaoyu was slender and elegant. The moonlight shone into the room, making her look ethereal and peerless. Her black hair was beautiful, her eyes were lively, her skin was fair, her curves were undulating, and her figure was mesmerizing. She was like the most perfect masterpiece of heaven. Nirvana scripture and the supreme dual cultivation technique of my Miaoyu Nunnery. This is the last attempt. If you still can't survive, little man, you'll really be letting me down. She walked over gracefully and stretched out her slender hand to pinch Yi Fan's cheek. With a beautiful smile, she said, It's always others who help Miaoyu Nunnery's disciple. Today, I might be the first to make an exception and help you come back to life. In the palace, and Miaoyu's jade-like body was transparent under the hazy moonlight. She was flawless and her whole body was shimmering with a faint glow. Her beautiful hair was disheveled, and her face was as beautiful as a flower. This had nothing to do with romance. It was just a way to save people. Yi Fan had always been against the dual cultivation technique. He never thought he would experience it himself. Little man, calm your mind. On the white jade bed and under the red veil, and Miaoyu's snow-white skin was glowing. She lightly touched Yi Fan's forehead to calm his mind. Any normal man would not be able to remain calm in the face of such a peerless beauty. Naturally, Yi Fan could not enter a meditative state as quickly as the old monk. And Miaoyu's entire immortal body was as white as ivory. Like a beautiful snake, her curves were exquisite and undulating and her body was flawless. Not long after, the chanting of the Nirvana ancient scripture resounded. The palace was filled with holiness and peace. At the same time, Yi Fan covered in Miaoyu's body and activated the dual cultivation technique. Under the bright moonlight, time passed like water. It was peaceful in the divine city. Miaoyu Nunnery. The entire palace was sealed off to prevent the heavenly Tao melody from spreading. It was shrouded in a layer of hazy radiance. As the first successor, and Miaoyu's status was no less than that of the saintesses. She was the most beautiful woman in the world. She had no rivals in Miaoyu Nunnery. No one in the younger generation dared to disobey her. Even though some people had deduced something, no one dared to approach or disturb her, let alone say anything. After midnight, the palace was harmonious and quiet. Yi Fan did not speak. The Nirvana scripture and the dual cultivation technique could not heal the scars left by the heavenly Tao. They could not change anything. He twirled in Miaoyu's beautiful hair around the tip of his finger and pondered quietly. Was there still a way out? Where should he go? Was the matured immortal divine medicine useless? The primordial divine medicine was the most precious sacred item in the world. If even it was ineffective, then one's life would truly come to an end. However, Yi Fan found it hard to accept. Wasn't even the divine king somewhat uncertain? He could not be sure that the immortal medicine was absolutely ineffective. He decided to take a gamble at all costs. Originally, he had already prepared the stone skin to take the risk for the divine king and little Tingting. Now that his own life was at stake, there was no way out. He could only press forward courageously. This might be the last time we meet. And Miaoyu slowly sat up. Her hair fell like water as she gazed at Yi Fan. This is definitely not the last time we meet. Yi Fan was extremely serious. He revealed a brilliant smile and said, Please believe me, I will not die. I still want to live for another 10,000 years and make those holy lands speechless. 10,000 years. So far away. And Miaoyu stood up and walked towards the jade bed. She stood in front of the window and gazed at the bright moon. The other half of the heaven-devouring evil jar is about to come into being. After who knew how long, and Miaoyu suddenly spoke. Do you need the divine physique, saint physique, and heavenly demonic physique to come with you? Yi Fan asked. Don't go, don't ask why. And Miaoyu did not turn around and calmly said, All right, I won't go. Yi Fan replied. After a long time she finally returned. Looking at Yi Fan she said, Little man, you should go. I will live. Yi Fan sat up. It's time to leave. And Miaoyu helped him put on his clothes. Her movements were gentle and slow. All right, in order to prove that I am still alive in this world, you will hear news about me every once in a while. This land will not be peaceful. Yi Fan said as he left. The divine city was bustling, but Yi Fan still had to leave. He did not leave immediately because he was waiting for the Black Emperor. In the following days he walked within the divine city, causing the younger generation to tremble with fear. No one dared to speak too much. The might of the Saint Physique did not diminish, causing people to revere him. He easily killed Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian, intimidating everyone. They were afraid that they would follow in his footsteps and be mercilessly killed by him. Everyone knew that the Saint Physique did not have much time left. There was no need to be apprehensive and no one dared to provoke him again. Even the Saint children avoided him, feeling apprehensive. They were afraid that Yi Fan would challenge them at this time. This was not impossible. In his final madness he would unleash his might and kill them. That would truly be a great misfortune. Even the golden-winged little Peng was well-behaved and rarely appeared. Rumor had it that he was returning to the central region of the eastern wasteland with the old Peng King. The Wind Phoenix also became low-key. It seemed to have quietened down and rarely appeared. In the final days of his life, Yi Fan's might was flourishing. No one dared to face him head-on. All the saint children and saintesses avoided him, and the younger generation was even more fearful. They were all silent, not daring to utter a single word of disrespect. Every time he appeared, a region would become quiet. Compared to a few days ago, it could be said that it was completely different. Everyone felt uneasy. The Black Emperor returned. He was dispirited and full of dejection. He continuously cursed, "Damn it, I can't enter Mount Zishan. Damn it, what happened? Goodbye, Divine City." Yi Fan bid farewell to the Divine King and just happened to see the Wind Clan Saint Lord and the Divine King in white discussing marriage. Chapter 423. Yi Fan was scarred by the ways, so he only had half a year left at most. Even if he broke through the curse and dominated the younger generation, he was obviously no longer someone worth roping in. About the marriage. The Supreme God King sat at the top. His hair was white like snow and his eyes were dim, but he was as handsome as ever. It was impossible to tell how he was doing. The Sacred Lord of the Wind Clan sat below and did not move at all. His black hair was disheveled and his eyes were deep. He gave off an invisible sense of dignity. He was not very reserved before the God King. "That girl, the Wind Phoenix, is too stubborn. She refused to agree, so there's nothing we can do. We've spoiled her too much." "I understand." The white-robed God King nodded before coughing gently. Traces of blood appeared on the white cloth. It was bright and startling. "Sai, no one thought something like this would happen," said the Sacred Lord of the Wind Clan, Feng Jingyun. "It's not your fault. Yi Fan is the same as me. He's in a precarious situation and has no future. If he gets engaged to the Pearl of the Wind Clan, it will be inappropriate." The white-robed God King wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. He seemed rather lonely. The white-robed God King had existed in the world for 5,000 years. Once he used the Battle Saint technique, all the heroes of the world would submit. He had come personally to facilitate the marriage between the two clans, but in the end, nothing had happened. Although it was humiliating, the God King did not mind. That was the reality. Saying more would only humiliate himself, so he was better off just brushing it off and acting like nothing had happened. After all, he had turned down the Supreme God King. The Sacred Lord of the Wind Clan, Feng Jingyun, was rather nervous. Although it was because of the Wind Phoenix's stubbornness, everyone could see through this excuse. "Greetings, God King." Yi Fan saw all of this. He entered and bowed before bowing to the Sacred Lord of the Wind Clan. The Sacred Lord of the Wind Clan, Feng Jingyun, eased up and changed the topic. He looked at Yi Fan and said, "There's always a way out. There'll definitely be a way out. You don't need to despair." Yi Fan smiled very brightly. The knot in his heart had been resolved, and he was no longer gloomy. He revealed his shiny teeth and said, "The heavens want to take me, but I really don't want to go. I won't let them get what they want." "All right." The Supreme God King nodded. The Wind Clan's Holy Lord smiled faintly and said, "Young people should be like this, full of vigor and vitality. I believe that your future is not limited to this. You've even broken the curse of more than 10,000 years. Is there anything more difficult than this?" Of course, these were just polite words. At this time he could only say some encouraging words. It was impossible for them to get engaged. Fortunately, they had never confirmed anything before, and there was no breaking of promises now. Yi Fan smiled and expressed his gratitude. Then he bade farewell to the Divine King and said that he was going to travel far away. Leave after 2 days. The child with the extreme Yin physique is clamoring to see you. He will arrive tomorrow, said the Divine King. Little Tingting wanted to come, so Yi Fan nodded in agreement. The immortal godly medicine is a sacred healing item. Every great emperor would have one of them, and it's an immortal treasure of the world. If you can find it, it will definitely be of great use to your injured body. All you lack is the primordial world, said the Supreme God King. This was the result of many days of pondering. If Yi Fan wanted to heal the wounds of the great Tao, he could only be healed with the nourishment of the immortal godly medicine in the primordial world. The primordial world. The Wind Clan's holy lord was shocked. In the vast eastern wilderness, there are only 7 places that still retain the power of the laws of the primordial world. They can nourish the divine body, said the white-robed divine king. Could it be the 7 forbidden zones for life? The Wind Clan's holy lord was shocked, and his face was filled with shock. Unfortunately, other than the great emperors, no one can survive for more than a few months in the forbidden zones. The Supreme God King sighed. The divine body was the favored child of the world before the primordial world. In that kind of time, the laws of the world hadn't changed and it was very suitable for them to grow. According to the divine king's speculation, only in that kind of place with the immortal godly medicine could one recover. Yi Fan was suddenly enlightened. He clenched his fists. His life was finally in his hands. He could take a gamble and not leave it to fate. When he walked out of the hall, he saw Feng Lai and the others. Now these people's gazes were all strange. One of them was a rather beautiful girl. She smiled and said, "I'll go and tell the lady that we finally beat him away." Hearing this, Yi Fan turned around and glanced at her. He said, "There was never any relationship. Why do you have to do this?" "Of course there is no relationship at all." This girl was the maid of the Wind Phoenix. Last time, she and Feng Lai and a dozen others were all suppressed by Yi Fan. On the side, someone else snorted and said, "A total of 3 million kilograms of source. Even if you throw it into the water, you can still hear the sound." In the end, it was wasted just like that. Yeah, what a waste. Such an astronomical figure, but it was only piled up to make a porcelain man with only half a year of life. What an extravagant squandering. This kind of physique is not good enough. In the end, everything was for naught. It caused our clan to lose so much source. The dozen or so young men and women were all the cousins of the Wind Phoenix. Some of them had been suppressed by Yi Fan before. Now that they saw him in such a state, they all spoke coldly. Yi Fan glanced at them and said, "If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. 3 million kilograms of source is indeed not a small amount. If I don't die, I will personally go to the Wind Clan to pay it back." "Young man, your words are making me lose face. Don't mention it again." The Wind Clan's Saint Lord walked out and scolded these young people with a dark expression. "How unruly. Go into seclusion immediately after returning to the clan." These people were all very afraid of the Wind Clan's Saint Lord. They all lowered their heads and didn't dare to say anything else. Only after Feng Jingyun left did they raise their heads. Someone mumbled, "Nice words. He's about to die, how can he pay it back?" "Yeah, in less than half a year he will become a rotting corpse. What's there to talk about?" Yi Fan was too lazy to argue with them. He only revealed a faint smile and said, "I will live for 10,000 years. At that time all the Holy Lands will have a headache because my life is too long." Not far away, a beautiful figure came over. The phoenix was wearing a 5-colored dress. It was the Pearl of the Wind Clan. Her slender body was surrounded by colorful lights, dazzling and moving. The legendary exceptional immortal face was covered by a 5-colored phoenix mask. It was clear that this was a secret treasure that couldn't be seen through it all. It flowed with brilliant colors. "Miss, I was just about to tell you the good news." The maid from before smiled. The Wind Phoenix was as arrogant as before, as if she was standing in the clouds. She raised her sparkling and snow-white chin as she glanced at Yi Fan and said, "Take care of your injuries." Yi Fan smiled and didn't say anything. He turned around and left. If he didn't die, perhaps he would really meet these people soon. The Wind Clan was located in the central region of the Eastern Barren Territory. One of the 7 forbidden grounds, the Undying Mountain, was located there. After solving his problem, he would definitely go there. That night, Yi Fan made it clear that he was going to find the immortal godly medicine and fight against the heavens. Pang Bo objected firmly. He felt that it was too dangerous and that there was only a slim chance of survival. He wanted to take the Azure Monarch's heart and extend Yi Fan's life. However, Yi Fan had made up his mind and couldn't change it anymore. Since things had come to this, it was useless to stop him. They began to discuss where the most suitable place was. Actually, there is an immortal godly medicine in the Purple Mountain. It was planted by Emperor Wuxia himself. Sadly, we can't go in now. The Black Emperor was annoyed. He had been cursing for an entire day and couldn't understand why such a thing had happened. How does this damn dog know so much? Did he run out from there? Li Heishui was suspicious. Did the world start to change again? The big black dog's eyes were burning. He looked at the sky and laughed foolishly, ignoring the others' suspicious gazes. Right now no one cared about that. They were all discussing where to go. Li Heishui thought that they definitely couldn't go to the 7 forbidden grounds. Even the ancient sages could enter but couldn't come out. It was impossible for them to stay for several months to recover. Tu Fei thought that the nest of 10,000 dragons was worth considering. After all, he had seen with his own eyes that there was a true dragon godly medicine there. Apart from that, it was hard to find another one in the world. Actually, I've made up my mind long ago. When I collected the divine origin stone skin, you guys always thought that I would go to the Purple Mountain. That's not the case at all. Yi Fan spread out the eastern barren grass map and pointed to one side. I want to go there. No, we definitely can't go there. We definitely can't go there. It's too dangerous. Even if a few holy lands joined hands to attack it, they wouldn't be able to make a splash. It's really a dangerous place. No one can come out alive. Tu Fei and Li Heishui objected strongly. The next day little Ting Ting followed the Jiang family's warriors through the void to arrive. She wore a purple dress that looked like a delicate porcelain doll. However, her big eyes were filled with tears. As soon as she saw Yi Fan, she threw herself at him and said, "Big Gidge." She knew everything about Yi Fan. She was so heartbroken. Tears rolled down her face unceasingly, wetting Yi Fan's clothes. Her big eyes were red from crying. "Big Gidge, don't let anything happen to you," she sobbed. She was so sad. "Ting Ting, be good. Don't cry. I'm going to be okay." Yi Fan squatted and comforted her. "Big Gidge, Ting Ting has the extreme true blood. I've read in the ancient books that it can save lives." Little Ting Ting wiped her tears while sobbing. She wanted to cut her white wrist to release the extreme true blood. Yi Fan hurriedly stopped her, scratched her nose and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'll be fine before long." "Really?" Xiao Ting Ting's long eyelashes were filled with sparkling tears. Her face was filled with disbelief. "When have I ever lied to you? Don't cry. Otherwise you'll look like a little kitten." Yi Fan wiped her tears and rubbed her head. "When can I see you again?" Little Ting Ting still didn't believe him. Every time her big eyes blinked, tears rolled down her face. "Not too far away." Then Yi Fan's myriad chi cauldron appeared, hovering above his head. 10,000 wisps of mysterious yellow chi poured down, creating a misty world. Everybody took in a cold breath. Many people wanted to jump over. If the peerless God King wasn't here, a bloody battle would be unavoidable. Little Ting Ting was startled. "Do you like it?" Yi Fan asked her. Then he stood up and faced the people of the Jiang family. "I'll lend this cauldron to little Ting Ting temporarily." Everyone understood what he meant. His fate was unknown. If he couldn't come back, then this cauldron would be given to the princess of the Jiang family. If he could come back to life, he would take it away. No one thought he could come back to life. The other experts' eyes were spitting fire. This heaven-defying sacred object was given away just like that. Helping the princess was the same as helping the Jiang family. Yi Fan originally wanted to keep this cauldron for Pang Bo, but he was afraid that it would bring Pang Bo a fatal disaster. As a result, he didn't do that. He had personally experienced too much. The reason why the Holy Lands chased after him was mainly related to the myriad chi cauldron. He didn't want Pang Bo to follow in his footsteps, so he secretly gave the Scarlet Phoenix blood gold to Pang Bo. It was also a peerless sacred object, but no one knew about the Scarlet Phoenix blood gold's existence. "It wouldn't bring disaster to Pang Bo. I'll keep it for you to forge super extreme weapons in the future. The more types of sacred objects, the better," Pang Bo said when he accepted it. This cauldron was given to little Ting Ting. With the Jiang family's protection, there was no need to worry about outsiders coveting it. It also freed Yi Fan completely. When he was strong enough, he could take it back. Now he didn't have much life left. He had given away the supreme treasure, so there was no need for the various great powers to keep an eye on him. It could be said that he had opened a dead end and unlocked the shackles. Many youngsters of the Wind Clan were dissatisfied. They felt that Yi Fan was biased and didn't consider the Wind Clan. They were ignored. In reality, you still have hope of living. As long as you sever 4 of your cultivation, your injuries won't worsen even if you can't recover completely. An Eastern Wasteland divine doctor said. This was someone invited by the Divine King. He himself had Holy Lord level cultivation, and his medical skills were rare in this world. "Is that so?" Then I will definitely choose to continue living. Yi Fan smiled. If he left this time to fight for a future, it would be a very good excuse. The Divine King left without a sound. No one knew where he went. Little Ting Ting and the myriad energy cauldron also disappeared with him. He didn't return to the Jiang family, leaving the world in great suspense. Everyone had already guessed that he didn't have much life left. However, why did he take the little girl away? Some people speculated that this was the Divine King's last method of intimidation. He purposely left an unsolved mystery so that the world couldn't know whether he was alive or dead. Without a definite answer, it was like a sharp sword that didn't fall down. It made people's hearts hang in suspense. This was a formless intimidation. When Yi Fan was about to leave, he carefully walked around the divine city. Everywhere he went, the youngsters were all incomparably fearful, fearing that he would carry out his final crazy act. Motherfucker, the divine body is here. Hurry and run. What chance does he have to live? I reckon he's going to find a saint-level character to start a massacre. Hurry and leave the divine city. Didn't you see? All the saintesses and sons have run away. They've long since disappeared. I heard that even the little Peng King has left and returned to the central region of the eastern wasteland. The Wind Phoenix and the others have also left. They've also returned to the central region. Everywhere Yi Fan went, it was like a quiet street. Everyone was afraid that he would challenge them in the last days of his life. No one dared to face him head-on and all of them retreated. Unfortunately, everyone guessed wrongly. Yi Fan didn't challenge anyone. After the Black Emperor finished carving an extremely complicated and profound domain gate Dao pattern, he chose to bid farewell to the divine city and was about to leave. Yao Yuekong, the Jade Lake Saintess, the Great Xia Prince, the White-Robed Nun, and the others came to see him off. Soon after, more people came to see him off. Yi Fan saw Miaoi in the crowd. She was peerless and untainted by the aura of the mortal world. She looked over quietly with clear eyes. Swoosh. Yi Fan raised his hand, activating Immortal Melody, flying it towards Miaoi. That was a wondrous treasure cut out from the Immortal Sound Stone. If it was nourished by immortal energy, it could become an unmatched immortal scripture. Goodbye. Yi Fan stepped onto the profound jade platform and instantly disappeared as he crossed the void. Chapter 424. The sky was azure like a massive crystal, untainted by any impurities. A cool breeze blew gently, carrying with it the fresh scent of plants that contained boundless vitality. The north region was monotonous and dull, lacking vitality. The land was crimson red, and there was no sign of human habitation for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. It was desolate and bleak, and not even birds could be seen. Now it was winter. Snow drifted for millions of kilometers, and the land was covered in silver and white. At this time, the environment that Yi Fan was in was very different. Spring was warm and flowers were blooming. The scenery was picturesque. Birds were singing and various animals could be seen from time to time. He left the north region and came to a world that was full of vitality. Everything was pleasing to the eye, and the flourishing vitality made one feel optimistic and cheerful. Damn dog. Yi Fan cursed. Traversing through the void, he was 1.5 million miles away from his destination. The large black dog had sworn that the error would not be more than 2,000 kilometers, but the error was an astronomical figure. This dog is really unreliable. If the Black Emperor was in front of him, Yi Fan would have the urge to beat him up. The Black Emperor, Pang Bo, Tu Fei, Li Heishui, and the others did not follow. Otherwise, they would be too obvious and easily arouse suspicion. Fortunately, it was not unacceptable, and he finally entered the region where his destination was. Although 1.5 million kilometers was extremely far, it was only a small distance to this region. If he did not enter this region, it would really become a tragedy. He did not have much life left and could not live for more than half a year. He had no time to waste on the road. The boat floated leisurely on the water, moving with the flow. Yi Fan was not in a hurry. He lay on a boat, and carefully thought about the various difficulties he would face, as well as the methods to deal with them. The river was not wide, nor was it rapid. The shore was full of aquatic plants, and the fragrance of the plants was mixed with the smell of the earth, making him feel endless nature. On the water surface, there were fish leaping up from time to time, creating splashes and revealing the white belly of the fish. It was very lively. Night fell, and Yi Fan took out his wine sack, drank a few mouthfuls of wine, and ate half a roast chicken. He lay on the boat and fell asleep peacefully, and the small boat naturally drifted down. Bang! In the latter half of the night, the skiff crashed into a boat in front of it. Yi Fan woke up and found himself in a wide river. Stars twinkled in the sky. On the river there was a large ship that was dozens of feet long. Its lights flickered and many people looked down. Someone asked, "Who hit the ship?" "I'm sorry everyone." Yi Fan cupped his hands and apologized. The people on the boat were very reasonable. Seeing that Yi Fan's boat was damaged, they lowered the rope and let him board. "Thank you everyone." Yi Fan wanted to learn more about this area from these people, so he didn't refuse their kindness. This was a large ship that sailed on the river all year round. There were ordinary mortals on it, but there were also many cultivators. Many people couldn't sleep at night, so they stood on the deck and chatted. Yi Fan paid some money to the owner of the ship and officially became a passenger. He quietly listened to the discussions of these people. During this period of time, all the heroes of the world have gathered in the northern domain. First, there was the world-shocking inheritance of great Emperor Wuxia, and now there is the rumor of the ancient heaven-devouring evil jar. It has really stirred up the world. Some cultivators sighed and discussed the recent major events. Yi Fan was surprised. The heaven-devouring evil jar was really going to appear in the world. What Miaoyi said wasn't false. However, he stayed far away from the center of the storm and didn't join in the fun. There was definitely great danger inside. Although Miaoyi didn't say it clearly, there were enough hints to tell him not to go and not to ask why. Speaking of which, the saint physique is too pitiful. He broke the curse of hundreds of thousands of years, but in the end, he couldn't escape death. Indeed. Not long ago he attracted the attention of the world, but this is the result. What a pity. He has the battle strength to dominate the younger generation, but he can't live long in this world. It can be considered the fall of a generation of heroes. In the future, there will be one less person who has the hope of approaching the great emperor. For the saint children, they can sigh in relief. Many people felt it was a pity when talking about the saint physique. Otherwise, the younger generation would fight fiercely in the future. The current ending meant that there would be much less excitement. So what if he has a saint physique? In the great era where many monarchs rise, he will similarly fade into the crowd and not reach the apex. A man clad in black iron clothes suddenly spoke. Many people were shocked. No one noticed when he appeared. He was like a specter that appeared out of thin air. Only Yi Fan saw this person step out of the void. He was extremely extraordinary and even he was surprised. He was definitely a top expert of the younger generation. Who are you? Why do you say that? Some people were dissatisfied with his words. It doesn't matter who I am. I'm just stating a fact. In the past, I've never heard of a saint physique becoming a great emperor. When all the kings rose, he was definitely not the most dazzling. This was a very young man. He was tall and slender and his appearance was handsome. His eyes were as bright as the stars in the sky. The black armor on his body flickered with a cold metallic luster. In his hand was a black battle spear. The blade was very sharp and specks of bloody light were faintly discernible. There was an endless killing intent sealed within, as if it had drunk the blood of millions of creatures. How many great emperors have there been since ancient times? In the era of no great emperor, perhaps not many could compete with the saint physique. The people on the ship could see that he was not ordinary, so they didn't dare to speak too intensely. In this great era there must be a great emperor born. Otherwise, it would be a shame for so many ancient monarchs to appear at the same time. The saint physique is not enough. He can't stand out. The young man's expression was cold as he constantly shook his head. Under the contrast of the flickering black iron clothes, his skin was very white, but there was not a trace of femininity. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he looked like a god from the underworld. Young man, you are very confident and powerful. However, since ancient times only a few great emperors have appeared among millions and millions of people. You saying that there will be one in this era is too whimsical. The present era is very similar to hundreds of thousands of years ago. All kinds of powerful physiques have appeared one after another. There will definitely be a person like Wuxia. The young man spoke with an extremely certain tone. His eyes flickered with a brilliance similar to raging flames. This. The others were all stunned. Many people had heard of this before. Yi Huiling, are you still not going to come out? Don't drag out our battle for too long. I think we should settle this soon. The young man in the black iron battle suit held his halberd as he stood on the deck and transmitted his voice. Wang Chongxiao, you came quite quickly. A girl walked out from the second floor of the ship. Her steps were light and agile. She wore a blue dress that fluttered in the night wind. She was only around 20 years old. Her appearance and temperament matched her name. Her appearance was stunning, intelligent, and ethereal. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her skin was so tender that it seemed as if it would break from the wind. She landed on the deck. She was slender and elegant like an orchid in an empty valley. There was a kind of tranquil and transcendent temperament amidst her absolute beauty. What? They are the kings of the Central Plains' young generation? I heard that they fought all the way to the eastern wasteland. That's right. I've long heard that there are kings among the Central Plains' young generation. Their battles are world-shaking. Each of them has their own innate secret techniques. Even the older generation couldn't stop them. The cultivators on the ship were all shocked. They didn't expect to see the young kings of the Central Plains here. As expected, their auras were extraordinary. There would definitely be a fierce battle. I don't want to have a life-and-death battle with you in the near future. Wang Chongxiao, why are you chasing me so relentlessly? Yi Huiling's voice was gentle and pleasant to the ears. I already know that you obtained the legendary, sky-covering treasured robe. You want to use it to isolate your aura and enter the forbidden region to pick the immortal divine medicine. Is that correct? Wang Chongxiao's voice was calm. Yi Fan's heart jumped when he heard these words. The young king of the Central Plains came with the sky-covering treasured robe. Their goal was the same. This wasn't good news. The other party had most likely come to the same place as him. This was definitely a powerful competitor. You're wrong. How could I enter so easily? I just want to rely on the sky-covering treasured robe to take a look at the edge of the forbidden region. Yi Huiling shook her head. Since you don't dare to enter, then leave the sky-covering treasured robe to me. I'll go pick the immortal divine medicine. Wang Chongxiao sneered. They had fought all the way from the Central Plains to the eastern wasteland. It was unknown how many times they had fought. They were evenly matched, but the further they went, the more intense it would be. The struggle between kings was a battle of life and death. Since there's no other choice, there's no harm in fighting. Although Yi Huiling's words were gentle, she didn't show any weakness. All of you leave. No one is allowed to turn back to watch. Otherwise you'll be killed without mercy. Wang Chongxiao's words were cold as he glanced at everyone on the ship. The owner of the ship hurriedly ordered the ship to leave. He didn't want to provoke the young king of the Central Plains. In the entire world, there weren't many in the younger generation who could compete with them. Wang Chongxiao jumped into the void. His black robe flickered with cold light. His hair danced in the wind as he stood there with his spear in hand. He looked like a king of hell. Yi Huiling's blue robe fluttered in the wind. She was ethereal and pure as she stood quietly under the night sky. A jade flute appeared in her hand. It was sparkling and translucent, engraved with profound Tao patterns. There was an aura of the great Tao circulating around it. She was one with the heaven and earth. This is too arrogant. They even dare to do this in our eastern wasteland. Why can't we watch? Some young cultivators were dissatisfied. Are they really kings who can coexist with the divine king physique? Don't say any more. They are indeed kings who have inherited the divine king physique. How many years has it been since they last appeared? Don't clash with them. Otherwise, no one will be able to block a single attack from them. Wang Chongxiao glanced coldly at the ship in the river and said coldly, all of you disappear immediately. This is too domineering. Do they really think they have already ruled over the world and are giving orders in our eastern wasteland? Some people were extremely dissatisfied. Wang Chongxiao sneered and said, although I haven't ruled over the world, I'm not someone ants like you can give me pointers behind my back. There aren't many people in this generation in the eastern wasteland that can enter my eyes. Too much. Someone rushed into the sky. His entire body shone with purple radiance like a star. This was a handsome young man. He shouted, what right do you have to look down on our eastern wasteland cultivators? Because I am the king of the Central Plains' younger generation. Wang Chongxiao's expression was cold. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. This is the eldest disciple of the moon-worshipping sect, Su Yueming. He is a cultivator at the peak of the Four Extremes realm and a peak expert of the younger generation. Someone cried out in surprise. They didn't expect there to be such an expert on the ship. Let me see if you are worthy of your title as a so-called king. Su Yueming rushed forward. Even a grain of rice can shine. Wang Chongxiao sneered. He didn't use his battle spear. A terrifying black wall appeared behind him and suffused with the aura of a god. Countless divine swords and magic treasures were stabbed into the wall. It was mysterious and hazy. He didn't even turn his head. He slowly pulled out a divine sword that was as red as blood. The tip of the sword spat out scarlet radiance that rushed into the heavens. He swung the sword down. Blood splashed everywhere. Su Mingyue was cut into two. It was as if he was fighting against a god. He was powerless to reverse the situation and couldn't block it at all. Even his weapon was shattered into pieces. Everyone was stunned. Their hearts trembled. The king of the Central Plains' younger generation was too terrifying. With a single attack, he cut an expert at the Four Extremes realm in half. Wang Chongxiao didn't turn around. He stabbed the divine sword that was as red as blood into the black wall behind him. All kinds of divine weapons and magic treasures flickered with radiance and disappeared along with the terrifying black demon wall. Cough. On the ship, Yi Fan coughed up blood. He wiped it clean with a silk handkerchief and looked at the sky quietly. In my opinion, apart from the Ji family's divine king physique and Yao Guang's saint child, everyone else in the eastern wasteland can't even take a single blow. Wang Chongxiao's black hair danced in the wind. His eyes were deep like an underworld king. His black armor was cold and oppressive. He looked down at everyone on the ship.